Ding, ding, ding.
I'd like to bring the Conservation Commission meeting, open it for March 25th at 7:34. And has anybody got any omissions or corrections to the minutes?
On page 2, just some additional language that we had a discussion on the detention pond 3. We referenced 1 and 2, I just want to make that we talked about 3 and asking what condition that was in. And then I think below that where it says there was discussion about whether or not to issue an extension permit, we should make reference that that came in 3 days prior to the expiration.
The
of
request
that.
is?
Yep. And then I just had a couple grammatical ones.
Okay, I had, part of a sentence is missing, the first public meeting requested for determination of applicability, 15 Powers Road. Last sentence, it says, and that, period. So I wasn't sure if
And that the lawn
something's
be,
missing.
which line are you on?
The very last sentence ends with and that.
Oh, right, yep.
Oh,
And the last paragraph, informal discussion 3 Westchester Drive, I just suggest that you put a sentence after the first sentence saying something about what the proposed plan was, like that for a demo and rebuild of a single-family house and septic system, and then continue with the rest. And just a relocation of the plastic pellets, project change, Patriot Beverage, IME rail siding. It says the pellets are not hazardous and would sink, and the next sentence ends with, or the next sentence after that says they do not float, and that refers to the plastic pellets, so I thought you'd relocate that, they do not float, after and would sink, or something.
Or you just take that sentence out.
Or take the sentence out, yeah.
I just said it
you've
several
already said it
times, so
before.
it's just,
you get the point. The non-float.
Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah.
thank you.
Anybody else have any comments?
Nope.
No, can I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I move that we accept the minutes as amended.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Just for something in passing, they redid the crossing down there at the depot. Completely redid it this last weekend. Closed everything down and did it.
Wow. Is it better?
I thought it was this morning, and then I drove over it again tonight, and I had my questions about it.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I got routed around there this weekend trying to head up to Up Oak Hill and
Oh, yeah, right.
drove by your house and stuff.
Are we adding anything or to discussion items?
I've got a bunch of small stuff to add, but nothing's gonna need a vote or anything like that.
Administrative discussion, Jerky Farm, Lot 7, new owners, 204-817. Are they here to speak to us?
They are not here to speak to us, so I guess they'll either show up later or I'll call them and see what happened.
Yeah.
This is lot 7, though. This is the farm pond lot.
Oh.
So it's not a certificate of compliance. It's just, they're coming
So
to
it's the waterfront
acknowledge.
lot?
It's the waterfront lot.
Okay, do we want to skip over the warrant article 18?
No,
No, we're gonna go.
You're
they're
gonna-
all-
No, I didn't know
Get it
whether
out.
someone's
No.
going to speak to that.
Yeah, they're all,
I'd like to speak to it.
Okay.
he wants to be heard.
I do. On behalf of the Littleton Water Department. And
Please state your name.
Kevin Hunt, the Water Systems Manager for Littleton Water Department. I have behind me Dick Taylor and Ivan Pegasic, chair members. In regards to Article 18, citizens petition that was put forth to be put on the town meeting for this May. What it is essentially asking to have the lands down here at Wickham Ave that are owned by the water department transferred designated conservation land, taking it out of control of the Littleton Water Department Board of Commissioners. I'm asking you to basically take a no vote, or a vote not to support the article, and I can go through reasons why. What I have here, I'll kind of have four copies, but essentially it's a map showing the parcels in question. To the southeast, I have the parcels which are at the existing well site at this time. The circle represents the zone 1 of those wells, which we're trying to get out of. Originally, this was our original operations center for both Littleton Electric and Water Departments. We moved out of here in the late 80s, early 90s, along with the Highway Department, over to Air Road. We've tried to protect this land ever since. As we look to try to develop this treatment plant, as we came before both the Conservation Planning Board, we've met with the selectmen, we gained all the approvals, we worked with the DEP, with the EEA, to get approval to build across the street. And what this article would do is, if it was to pass at town meeting, would prevent us from doing that, setting us back to square one. I'll pass that so you can also see the map, and hold us basically to building back in that zone 1, which we're trying to get out of. So by doing it's kind of an end around that this citizen petition is trying to do, is go around the votes of this board, the planning board, and also the work we've put in for the last, since last September, to build at this site. From a water department's perspective, this is the right site to build this. It gets us out of the floodplain, it gets us out of the zone 1. We're at a higher elevation. There is certainly a cost savings to doing this on this side, which is, again, trying to return that to our ratepayers. We're in the process of working with the Executive Office of Environmental Energy and Environment and Energy Affairs, who oversees the DEP. As part of the agreement to be able to build on this lot, we are going to have to look to replace the land that we're using on this side by basically coming up with 2 more acres of land that we will put into Article 97 land and such. So
Sorry, can you explain, okay, petition to propose conservation land is all where is that?
So-
This hash area
This
here?
that would, everything you see
And
here,
this.
that land there, he is looking to, or the citizen petition is looking to have that land put into conservation. The parcels 35 and 36, which are just to the south of that. And then the parcels that you see over here, which is part of parcel 76, this corner on the southwest, that is the Bud Sawyer Grove. Have that also put into conservation. The X'd out area, that's the existing area that we're going to be restoring to Zone 1. Basically taking down the highway building, taking up the asphalt. That's going to be restored.
And this is where you were planning to build?
Yep, you can actually see that. That's an overlay. If you look in there, that is the actual treatment plant design as it is.
Plan, that's proposed, right?
Exactly,
there.
the proposed plant there.
And that's a proposed building as well?
Nope, that's
Oh.
just marking the actual, that lot there is not going to be disturbed other than a underground water main which will come through.
But it has a building on it?
No,
Oh.
that is just a field.
That's a label.
Oh, those are
Yes,
labels.
all that is, pull that closer to you. All that is a label. Yeah. So, as it stands right now, what we're hoping to do is to build, take down the existing highway garage that's on parcel 74, and remove the paving, restore that area, which is in that zone 1. It's in that radius around the wells. To get that taken down and restore that to its natural state and get off of that lot, with essentially the only buildings that would remain would be the historic building for what we call Well 3, the brick building, and then there's the 4-bay garage, which really just houses, we use it for some dry storage. But most of the pavement would be taken up and get off of that property. Build the treatment plant over here. It's a much higher elevation. It's almost 15 feet higher than the existing plane over here. Gets us out of the zone 1. So if you just took the swap of those two parcels, you can kind of see they're kind of very similar to what we're restoring, to what we're going to be taking up. And it is a field, and I get the neighbors aren't happy that we're going to be developing in that field. But with all the steps we've taken over the last 8 months to get to this point, we're going to be back at square one if this gets passed at town meeting or voted upon. We'll be back at square one. And at that point, we'll be forced essentially to building in an area that, again, I can name all the DEP, the EEA. They're all supporting us not building in there. They want us out of there.
I mean,
But-
technically, can you even build in a zone in?
You
zone
can,
one?
you can.
can build
Ours,
in zone?
yes, there's several treatment plants in the state that are built in the zone 1. It's not what they prefer to do. A lot of those treatment plants were built, back in the day. Ours is a special situation because we're in the floodplain too.
Right.
A lot of the ones that might be built in the zone 1 are typically, they're close to the wells. Our Beaver Brook treatment plant is in the zone 1. But if you drove in to see that, we're kind of we're surrounded by water all around us. The wells are there and the plant, exactly. Here we have an opportunity, and working with our engineers, Ty and Bond, they came to us last year after we get the vote in May to proceed with the design and construction of this plant. And they initiated the issues that they were seeing building in the zone 1. So we're almost a year later. We're hoping to go out to bid. We got planning board approval last week,
Right.
and this has this could really slow us down. This could delay us a whole nother year if this was, because we'll be back at square one as far as trying to site it and walk through
Yep.
all these boards again. So that's what I've asked is
Right.
to
I
have.
think the letter was well written. I think it was succinct, and it was a good reminder for the commission of kind of where we have just come from, what we've approved. And I do believe the commissioners took a lot of thought into what was submitted and approved recently. So this is something that's, kind of fresh in
And
our minds.
deliberated.
And very
And
much so.
deliberated twice over
Yeah.
2 meetings and.
Yeah.
Do you own the parcels in the field?
We do.
Is that all you own there?
We own the 2 parcels. Yes, that is all we own right now. What you see delineated are all water department parcels, but that is the only parcels that we own. The other gotta orientate myself here. So just to the west of those parcels, those 2 parcels that you see are both owned by the Sanderson family. And then if you go to the east, you got the VFW, the Homestead Kitchens, the Ernestine property, which I think is.
It's coming down, isn't it?
Yeah, that is supposed to be coming down. So, and we have done some research. We actually looked at the Ernestine property to see if that would be available if we could put the treatment plant on there. Unfortunately, the big thing that stood out there, it's too small. We'd be like 70% impervious on that site. It just wouldn't work. So I think our hands are somewhat tied. This parcel was purchased back in 1989 through a grant from EEA. We realized that we're going to have to work with the EEA to repay that grant. But in repaying it, there's the opportunity to, instead of repaying it, is to purchase new land, for that same sum.
Okay.
So
Does anybody get any questions?
Would the new land be in this general vicinity?
that's a good question. We would prefer to that, but we have to find somebody willing to sell us the land first. We do have our Cobb's well that we're looking to develop too. We're always looking to protect our water. So if it's, no matter what, it needs to be land that will be used for aquifer protection, whether it's going to be for the Wickham Ave wells.
So it can be anywhere in town as long
Right,
as it
as
serves
long
that
as it's in
purpose.
Littleton. And
So originally, the grant you got was to buy this land to preserve the aquifer?
for aquifer protection and water department use. So,
Okay, both,
correct.
okay,
So,
all right.
Has anybody else got any questions in the audience or anything? If not, can I have a motion to bring this to a vote?
About the letter, whether we'll,
Huh?
I think
I mean, help support it.
Yeah.
I had one distinction I wanted to make about the letter. So we had our meetings and we deliberated and we issued our permit based on the least environmentally damaging option. And I think I, as well as I'm sure others, still stand by that. I think there was a question though in the petition about the use of the other parcel, and I felt like that was outside
It's
of
out
our
of our purview.
It was out of our
Yeah.
purview before when we were deliberating, and I still think that's outside of our purview. So I'm not sure how we craft a vote to support the plan as the least environmentally damaging option, as recognizing the need to put a treatment system in 2019 when you're withdrawing water from 25 to 30 feet. And so I'm not sure how we craft the language to support the plan as we originally permitted,
Right.
and
Without
make
the
it
language
a
that's
little
been
more
added in.
clear that the
Just our jurisdiction, yeah.
yeah, the across the street land isn't in our purview, but we prefer, to not have something built in the floodplain within the 100-foot buffer. We've heard climate change is making our groundwater higher, not lower, so that's even more of an issue. So,
Things that-
Floods,
Right.
So that's, I guess that's my,
At the end,
those are my thoughts on
yeah,
that.
at the end of the day, the article itself is pretty clearly, the way it is written, it's asking to take our, water, land owned by the town of Littleton under the control of the Board of Water Commissioners, and taking it out of their control and basically place it into the conservation. I think we have 107 years of history for the town of Littleton protecting our water resources. I think we have a very strong board that has acted to,
Yeah. That's true.
similar. We have very similar interests. To do that, at the end of the day, what I'm
Yeah.
asking is
No, I don't,
you
we don't want to take, I guess the
exactly.
other point, I'm not interested in
Well,
taking water
Right,
department. I
and
don't
that's-
feel
that's-
that
Well, we
that
should know that we are
is
interested in
something that
taking
would be a
land
position
if it-
Right.
we would
if it is
should
offered.
take,
Maybe that's,
We need
given
one
the circumstances.
conversation. Sorry.
sorry.
Although I'm certainly sympathetic to having, open land developed, that is certainly something that's, part of our mission, but to say we want to, take over land
Yeah.
that the
Well,
water
that's what the
department's going to
article would
use
do.
for water protection,
And-
which is also something that's a common interest.
I think
doesn't
that's why
make
that is the reason I'm before you, is because asking you to vote not to support the article is what I'm asking you to do, because it does exactly that. Whether or not the Conservation Commission wants it, it's gonna take that power out of our hands. And again, from our interest, it's gonna delay a project that we're kind of excited to get. Right now, those
Yeah,
wells,
those wells are old.
they're old, they supply about almost 50% of the water to our residents, and it's our
Unfiltered.
untreated,
Unfiltered, yeah,
unfiltered,
which we
correct.
talked
Well,
about.
well
Yeah.
aware
Yep.
of that.
No,
So-
we
I'm
recognize.
not sure if we can even take that land, to be honest with
You
you.
can't because it was
Yeah.
given under a different grant.
Yeah, so I don't think we could even, might be a petition.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think it's
I just don't know how
legal.
to craft the
I
language.
don't think it's
that
legal
makes
for us
sense.
to take it.
Well, you
I
might
don't-
not need very specific language. It could just be you voted not to recommend the article.
Not to support this article.
Yeah,
Oh,
Right.
It's
I would
fine.
like to, yeah,
Are you looking to
also,
put this actually in the warrant book?
No,
Usually
I-
the planning board and or Board of Selectmen, Finance Committee will have
They'll-
what their votes are.
The moderator will, so usually when there's an article
Right.
that has to do with other boards, the moderator will say, oh, and by the way,
Yeah.
conservation does support this article, or they don't, or like Park and Rec does or doesn't
Right.
support
Exactly,
something, or
exactly.
finance,
And-
FinCom,
Right.
so that's
Right.
what we'll
Clearly,
have.
Yeah.
I think that
It'd be great to have open land, but it's,
Yes.
I,
you as a board, a very powerful board, and your vote means something as far as amongst the environmentalists in town.
Sure.
I think if I was a layman, didn't know much about this project, and I heard, hey, we get an opportunity to acquire more conservation land, I'm going to vote for it. But I think if you were to vote against it, not to support it, there's clearly a reason, and I think that's our fear, is that somebody who truly cares about the environment isn't going to know the real history behind this, what we're trying to do here.
I
guess-
think we gotta
Is
vote
it-
to the fact that we do not support this at this time.
it'd be stronger if, I wish we had time to just look at the legal nature of it.
If we're
I
gonna
The
think
get,
town council's doing
Yeah,
that.
the town moderator
Ad
will work with
infinitum.
town council on that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
the
Because
only
I
way
would
that-
like to see what that opinion is. To
And
me,
we'll,
it's,
we'll probably
to me,
find
it's
out that
illegal.
opinion at town meeting.
Okay, but I think based on the data that we have presented to us, we should give them guidance.
So we
I
still
mean-
support the water department's plan as presented and as we permitted it.
But that you would
Yeah,
not
that's the only
support.
thing we could do, I don't
this
think.
And that,
Change.
yeah, if
I
right.
don't think we could speak to whether or not we would take the land, because we
Right.
don't know.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think I think what he's asking for is either support or non-support of what's presented.
of Article
So,
18.
Yeah.
exactly.
But
Right.
what I'm saying is that, what we support is not building in the zone A, or
Mhm.
the zone 1, I'm sorry.
Right.
But I think
And that would be
And
the
if
only
we
If,
can't
alternative.
that's
speak to
gonna be
whether-
our own,
And
that
that would be
would be our
only
only alternative.
Okay, well, that's
And
something
it's
to-
been
to-
raised, again, I come into work this morning and there's a new thought of, oh, well, we can build a transmission main to 39 Air Road. Clearly, we could go down that road. It's gonna be our ratepayers that would pay that, substantially more money. If we were to build the treatment plant, we actually originally, when we started looking at this, we actually originally looked at, instead of having 3 treatment plants, is pumping this water over to Spectacle Pond. The cost to run that main was $12 million, estimated. If we were to do that, and then still do major upgrades to that plant over there, what we're trying to do is obviously our ratepayers are gonna be who pays this. Rates are gonna end up going up. How much are they gonna go up?
Yeah.
And such. So I really do feel like we've looked at all these options. Right now, transmission main to where, hopefully we could get it closer, but again, that's gonna put us back at square one, where we don't wanna be.
Right. Well, the
Um,
key is if you don't have that land to build, and you have to build there,
Mhm.
the key is that that's your only option.
Yeah.
That's why we wouldn't support it, I think, is that it
Right.
would force you to build in the zone 1.
Zone 1, right.
That's,
Well, I can tell you that would be our option, because building a transmission main, the zone 1 is a more expensive option for us. Estimates are upwards of $1 million additional cost to build in zone 1. If we were to build a transmission main, even over to 39 Air Road, it's gonna be even more expensive than that. So we would definitely be moving back to the 74 and 76 Old Highway Garage parcel with the
But
treatment plant.
the
if this
thing,
was
the
to
thing
pass.
is that by building one, putting the treatment plant here, it spreads the workload out over more of an area, so if something goes down, you're not depending on just 3 plants, you got 4 plants additional to work with if something should happen. And things do happen.
No, exactly, well, there's,
I mean, that Beaver Brook could get polluted with an accident or something.
All right, so do we have someone that wants to make a motion?
So I'll make a motion that the commission vote to not support warrant Article 18.
I'll
Do I hear
second
a
that.
Second, good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, good luck.
thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Yep.
Thank you.
So you gotta-
And
Yes,
actually,
we gotta-
the owner of Durkey Farm Lot 7 has arrived, so.
Come on up.
Well-
Hi there. Good evening, if you could just state your name.
Manoj Sharma. Manoj Sharma.
So
We
he
have a
is here
flyer?
in response to the order of conditions for all the lots on Durkey that the new owners need to come in and meet with the commission.
That's what the flyers
Matt's flyer.
Oh,
We
not
have
with
it.
me. So this is lot 7, which is the one on the farm line. So it's that lot right there.
So you have the waterfront property?
Yes, I do get water there sometimes.
How high
Once
is
in a
your
while.
water now? I haven't been out there in a few
Uh,
weeks.
So right now, let me orient myself. Where
Yep.
am I?
So the square would be the,
Fraser.
square would be the
So
foundation
it's
of your house.
actually right at the end somewhere here. There's some water. I mean, yeah. If I'm looking out my window, it's like at the other end.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a little bit.
Did you
puddle
see
there.
this lot a year ago?
Yeah, I was living there.
A year ago?
It was almost
Yeah.
in your backyard.
Yeah, it was. I was afraid.
Little high.
So now your water
Swimming pool
level,
in your
because because there's been a cross drain that's been put
exactly.
in,
Yes.
so we would ask that you be diligent to watch that, and we need
Sure.
to always make sure that that's clear as well.
Mhm.
Somebody want to talk to him a little bit about stewardship?
So, do you have an awareness of conservation commissions or the Wetlands Protection Act or anything of that nature?
So I'm a
So, no.
new resident in
Okay.
Massachusetts.
Oh,
and
perfect, okay.
So treat me like I don't know anything.
Yeah, no, we'll start from the beginning, that's fine. So,
Wildlife corridor?
So, all states protect wetlands. In Massachusetts, the Conservation Commission helps to administer the regulations around wetlands. And so there are, basically wetlands are important because they help filter pollution, they support wildlife, and so we want to protect them.
Mhm.
And so there are jurisdictional areas that are 100 feet from a wetland. So if you're within 100 feet from a wetland boundary, you need a
Mhm.
permit, which I think is pretty much your whole lot.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah.
And wetlands
So-
are basically both a water feature and plants.
Okay.
Mhm.
Plants and water and soil aspects all together.
So it doesn't have to be like a pond per se.
Exactly.
Okay.
No,
It could be
it's-
dry land.
It's
Okay.
the
Right,
area that
fringe.
contributes to it as
Sure.
well.
Okay.
So that's why when you think of like fertilizers and things
Mhm.
like that and plantings, it's very important that
Sure.
we kind of guide you through that
Sure.
and talk to you about that a little
Okay.
bit as well.
Yes, within 100 feet, we prefer what we call slow release fertilizers, which
Okay.
are more organic fertilizers that release the nutrients gradually
Okay.
over time.
And just because a pound does wonders, 2 pounds don't do it any better.
Right, so you really want to think of, measure out how big your yard is and
Mhm.
then look at it, treat it like it's a medicine for the lawn.
I see.
You're dosing it.
So don't over.
No,
do-
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
You'll get
you-
algae in that
Okay.
pond and it'll
Sure.
get really gross.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you wanted to, so if there are projects, you would want to give Amy a
You can
call.
add that, but there's
Yeah,
just
like
order
a
conditions with the fertilizer.
fencing,
Okay.
patios,
Sure.
anything like that, you
Okay.
need to call Amy to talk about it because you can, so if you put something in and it's within a jurisdictional area, you
Okay.
can be made to remove it.
Okay.
And that would be a really big expense.
Sure, sure.
So you would want to talk to Amy first
Okay.
because pretty much you're,
So on your deed, so you'll
Mhm.
see your book and page number,
Mhm.
these are what are called order of conditions.
Okay.
So you'll see that there's language here that talks about pesticides. Hopefully you have a copy of this. So when you bought your property, were you told about the Wetlands Protection Act or
Or just
protection?
the order conditions.
Or the order of
Yeah.
conditions?
I mean,
maybe.
I
Maybe.
went through a lot of things,
Lot.
so relying on my memory, I would say maybe, but I
Okay.
at least I'm not able
So
to recall it.
we can always make a copy of that for you.
That copy is actually for you.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
And what I do need is I just need to sign, put your name and sign for
Sure.
receipt of that, and then I just stick that in my file,
Okay.
so.
Can I borrow your pen?
Here you
if
go.
don't mind? Thank you.
Actually,
Just
Oh,
grass
thank you.
clippings is another thing that's pretty common, like no grass clippings out, like down towards that pond
Okay.
in the wetlands.
Sure.
Or if you have a landscaper, let them know they can't put yard waste there because it
All right.
decays and will get algae in the pond.
And the longer you can keep your grass, close in the buffer zone, the better, just to
Oh, I see. Okay, that's good.
Prevent-
I like that.
prevent.
Less mowing.
Yeah.
Yes, that sounds good to me. Because it's kind of sloped, so, and I find it hard
A
to
little
actually
dangerous,
clip it.
it's
and
gonna
use.
go right back to Amy.
Thank you.
Great, then if you have any questions, just come in, Amy's here quite a few days a week, we're happy to answer any questions. But Matt created that flyer for you, so it's a
And
nice,
this one.
that's for you as
That's
well.
for me as well,
So
okay.
that's what's attached to your deed.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you so
Okay,
much,
great,
everyone.
thank you for
Thanks for
coming in.
coming in.
Welcome.
I guess we gotta go to the
Yeah, we'll skip
Hearing.
the rest of the admin stuff.
public hearing notice of intent, 46 Russell Street, U1913-0, Mass. EP,
Come on up.
file number 204-8, XX fence installation.
Going in the fencing company business?
Doing it ourselves.
Yes, doing it ourselves. Coastal digger,
Oh,
yes.
fencing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep, and I think went out maybe, or talk to them already?
Yeah, so, they wanna put they have a very nice plan, actually. Put a fence in, and you can describe the red and the blue and the different kinds of fence.
Yeah, so the red is going to be split rail, 3 rails, 4 foot high, 6 foot posts, so they go down 2 feet, and then chicken wire or some sort of clear wire through there, mostly just to retain a dog, four-legged animal we want to keep in the backyard. And the blue would be stockade privacy fencing, just for that corner, and then cutting down just a little bit, mostly just for road noise and stuff like that.
And the current area is vegetated now, so it's like lawn?
Yeah, so it's lawn.
A lot of dirt in the like back part, but
Yeah, the back lot, along the side, there's a perennial pond per se. It's
Okay.
full when it floods and it's empty after a week. So most of that area's been cleared out of yard waste and trees, and we had a couple large dead pines removed.
So it's gonna be the chicken wire, is that?
What's
Yeah,
the
that's
closest
what's
to this
there.
pond and any wetlands out back that you guys are coming?
So from like probably the closest would be this corner here, and you're probably about 6 feet. And then the wetland runs pretty much right along this plot line. So it gets bigger further away as you go up here, but I'd say probably 6 feet.
6 feet.
Does that water ever flood come up?
We had a small gathering of water here, but it never bridged between the embankment and our yard.
And with the split rail, they'll still be able to have little inhabitants go back and forth, and water can come and go
Yeah.
and rise. That's our concern, is that you'd be blocking off the migration.
and we also can put the split rail will be high, and then
Mhm.
we can put the chicken wire up high enough that
Our dog's
things.
not that
Yeah, our
big,
dog.
so-
Dog won't go
He's
under.
like 70
Oh, wow.
pounds, so he's not gonna like
Yeah,
sneak
I
under
asked if they could
anything.
leave like,
My dog
6
did.
inches.
Yeah, so we can
it's-
put it up higher
Yeah.
so that there's an actual path.
This is right across from the middle school, right? The green.
Yeah.
Greenhouse, yep.
Oh,
So how close is that to the buffer zone?
It's in it.
It's
It is in
yeah.
the buffer
6
zone.
feet.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah,
closest.
there's sort of a wetland ditch right behind the house.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
looks like
swale
a
that
basically a
goes
lawn
all the
now.
way parallel to Russell Street.
Yeah.
and there's that development behind
Yeah.
their lot too, like right across from the middle school. So it kind of, I think Delaney is down
Further.
farther on the other side, but it's similar. It's one of those guys. But I think the split rail we had, talked about fencing is a limited project.
Mhm. Yep.
And I like the split rail versus like stockade
Yeah.
near the wetland and keeping a
pretty
dog
good.
continuous.
Down the road, would it be able to have like vines on the split rail
Sure.
to grow and
Yeah.
provide more?
Multi-color rows.
Native vines,
Yeah, bittersweet
not
vines.
bittersweet vines.
No.
Careful what you start.
Trumpet, native
If it
trumpet
isn't
vines.
already there.
It's a good place for pollinators,
Yeah.
for bees.
Our
and-
neighbor is a
neighbor's a
beekeeper.
bee.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
Lots of bees.
They come over and visit.
They do. We were sitting on our patio the other day and we were like, oh, okay.
Okay, I don't have any questions.
Are you, I'm assuming you're in.
No, probably just
drive.
yeah, straight. Everything I've read that the lime in the concrete will erode the wood, or will decay the
Oh,
wood
sure.
faster.
Okay.
Then if you have to remove it in a couple of years, now you have a concrete block in the ground versus just ripping the post out. So probably not. The only thing, the stockade, I'm going to talk to because the wind's out of the west and that stockade fence is going to be
Mm-hmm.
against the wind, so he recommended that area, which is up next to the house, maybe concrete that just to prevent wind from blowing over, but definitely not the split rail.
So I would just say, you would want to be careful about not, putting. I think you just started the yard waste conversation, or the soil, or any extra materials. Keep that,
Yep.
out of the wetland.
We've pulled a lot of sticks and stuff.
So you have a,
If you want to so vote, and ONDP got the file number, so you actually can close it.
Oh, wow, nice.
Miracle.
You guys are lucky. It's been taking forever.
so this is a determination.
That must be the.
It's a notice of intent.
Yeah. So, negative.
Anybody want to make a motion to?
So I'll make a motion that the commission declare this a limited project and to issue an order of conditions for DEP file number 204-8 something.
Are we even allowed to issue it if it doesn't have a number yet?
No,
It
they
does.
just,
It just wasn't on
it
here.
came in tonight and I didn't.
I was gonna
Oh,
say,
okay.
yes, on this.
Amy's got it.
We've had a lot of
886.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Cool. Thanks for coming in.
Thank
Good
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a good night.
So I will prepare this. Do you want to pick it up when it's ready, or I can mail it to you?
Yeah, you can email me or call me and
All right, I'll let you know that it's here. Okay.
Is there a limitation on before they can start?
There's a 10-day appeal period.
10-day appeal, okay.
Yeah.
Get stuff that fast anyways.
Good
So
luck.
you can start at your risk, but. Thank you.
guys.
Amy, is purple all right?
Sure, why not?
I know, I'm
It
just
doesn't
like
bother
kind
you,
of
will be
a.
the invisible.
the one of
Jelly
these.
pen.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I couldn't see in the dark.
Okay. Public hearing, amended order of condition, Mass DEP 204-430, construction of a second hotel on previously approved commercial pad at Point, and it also says you withdrew it.
So that one's withdrawn.
That
and
one's
then-
withdrawn to
Yep.
the hotel, and then we'll go to the next one with continued discussion of the point updates.
So is that any replacement of that idea?
Of the hotel? No, it's sort of on hold for a number of various reasons. So if and when they come back, then they'll reapply and go through the steps again. So we sort of default back to the existing footprint that was approved
Yeah.
and it's sort of built to
Gotcha.
today, so.
No sense making
Yeah.
changes and changes.
Yep, so we're not gonna propose any changes until we know exactly what's going there. So.
We appreciate that.
Which may be the exact building at the end of the day, so who knows.
Okay.
So, this is a continuation of the last meeting, really, which sort of took us by surprise. And I think the biggest shock to Sam is that it was a surprise. So we wanted to relay that we've been tasked to make sure that we really straighten out the communication, make sure we have everything in order moving forward, because one of the biggest issues we
You're
have
not
is
insinuating that we're not communicating.
No.
Okay.
Just
I
that
just wanna be clear for the record.
No, not at all. That's
We were
correct.
surprised too that it was.
Yeah.
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct.
3
So-
days, 3 days before the extension period
Yep.
is to expire.
Yep. So, it's very important for us to know what have open lines of communication as we move forward. Things like the potential hotel or things at Building J or K. We know we're in good graces, and everything is we know what to expect coming down the line, because certainly what the buildings we had permitted previously have a impact on the financing we have set in place, and so potential trickle-down effect that we would like to avoid. So I don't know if I have all of the detailed answers that the commission might be looking for tonight, but I think I have some historical questions answered, and I have at least an outline to move forward, and I'm happy to come back here every 2 weeks or whenever until we're all comfortable with where we are moving forward. As mentioned, the hotel has withdrawn, so there's no angst. So I'd like to get it all straightened out in due process and what's there. So
Did you were at the planning board though for the hotel last Thursday, right? Or did you?
they also withdrew from there.
You did,
So if they
okay.
discussed the
Okay,
planning
I
board,
saw it,
then
okay.
yeah,
I
they
was
withdrew
wondering how it
completely from
Okay,
everything
thank
in
you.
town. So I'd like to start a sort of outline, just a quick presentation here with some of the historical questions on the permit that we had, some of the current things that are happening or pending, and then future work that we're looking to do on the project moving forward. I crossed notes with Amy after the last meeting, so I think I had what I had heard, and she suggested a couple other things just to address. So I'm just going to go down the bullet points. Feel free to stop me if there's any questions on any of them. So Sarah had first mentioned the trails that were at one time proposed, I think with Cisco, that extended from our Basin 1 and out. I didn't actually want to clarify, was the concern that if the trails are to go in, there's going to be construction, and how is it accessed, or is it more that just the commission wants the trails?
I think they're.
I think it was Andrew that brought that up, not me.
Oh, sorry.
So they're definitely worth looking into. I know on the westward side, there's been a lot of interest over
Yeah.
the years. I think this has just kind of gone by the wayside the last maybe year and a half, 2 years, and we haven't really looked into it. But I definitely think it's something worth looking into.
Okay. So I wanted to clarify, and Sam's position and the project position is it's a good amenity. We like things like that. There was nothing in the original, this amended permit for the shopping center or the plans that were there. So it's not necessarily an obligation, but we're keeping it open as we move forward with the conservation restriction. We sort of write in flexibility for the trails, so long
And
as
Andrew, that would,
national
that
heritage
tie
wants
into
them.
the trails that are over on Basin 1?
Yeah, there's a set of trails over on Heather Drive in Westford that it
But we would
would.
have to be careful because of natural heritage over there, that they may not want the additional foot traffic.
We would have to look into
Yeah,
that.
Right.
they were-
And I
Correct.
think
We
that's,
expressed a
that's,
concern
about
that's like a whole
the-
discussion.
Correct.
Type of-
Yeah.
Correct.
The type
And
of
I-
foot traffic was.
Correct. So when we go through the conservation restriction, have those conversations, we'll make sure we leave appropriate flexibility, and then if it comes time that we're going to do them, we'll, maybe that's a new filing for everything that's there for specific, so. I
Absolutely.
just wanted to take it off from the bigger discussion and make sure we're all on the same page there. The basins and the condition of the permanent stormwater basins that are here, Basin 1, 2, and 3. So all of them have been as-built by Allen Major's survey as-built that's there. For Basins 1 and 2, Basin 1, we did have an effort to clean out this end that saw construction sediment, and just in going back in notes and talking with Stefan, this end, there was some question if it had been cleaned or needed to be cleaned. It was felt that this was not seeing construction runoff, especially to what this was, so it was in fairly decent condition. That with the analysis by Allen Major, that the storage was comparable and that was functioning as per the design. I think the plan was to leave that alone. As a caveat, I'll add that we should, pump these down and inspect the floor bays, just as typical maintenance practice going forward. So I think it's an opportunity in the relatively near future to do that.
Is that in the O&M to do so?
The O&M doesn't give a specific timeline, but it does say that they should be inspected regularly, so that's part of that. Basin 2, a similar exercise. This was done at the end of 2014 and then beginning of 2015. Basin was pumped down, as built. That one didn't see much construction, but we did do some cleaning. They did the as-built for it. Same thing, capacity was adequate, functioning with hydrology. We did need to shim up the top of it, was missing some freeboard, which we did do. And I did follow down on Major because I didn't have a final as-built from them of that.
Right,
topping,
because I don't
so-
think we have a final as-built, because when we had issues with 3, we actually had to put a lot more into 2, and so I don't know that 2 has been cleaned after we had challenges up here when we were building. Some of this area got compromised, and so we ended up kind of putting more into 2 than what we had thought of. So we may want to just follow the timeline of when the as-built was done, and if that does need cleaning.
Okay. So maybe we'll chase out when that work was done, because I do know when this was as-built and when we did the work there to shim it up, so.
It was after 2015.
It was after 2015?
Mhm.
Okay. So the analysis and initial as-built was in beginning of 2015. They shimmed it up in the summer. I think by August, they had it
Okay.
fixed
Cool.
from there, so.
I'm sorry, so is the as-built after, is there an as-built after it got shipped up, or?
I think it's in process, because I had not seen it, but I confirmed with Allen Major that they did the survey, they have the data. I just don't know if they provided me with a final one.
I would ask that if that was done in 2015, they should revisit that data to make sure it's accurate based on extreme flows that had to go into 2 to keep 3 from being compromised.
Okay, so that's really just to confirm
Right.
it's no other impact of Basin 2 from the flows over there, and confirm the as-built data is still accurate. Basin 3 did do, at one point was pumped down, did do a preliminary as-built. As far as storage goes, it was just under 2% less than design. They didn't give me a full calculation because we obviously were still using it for construction. So that will, because of the sediment, construction sediments there, we will plan on pumping that down, cleaning it out, and reshaping it, and getting rid of any construction sediment that's there. And I'll touch on that a little bit later. But
So when do you think that would be cleaned?
so, can I table that for 1 second until I get to the end?
Yes.
Because I do have that. I will address that as far as overall schedule goes. So. That's for the basin. So something Amy brought up for us to check. As you may recall, there was some tree clearing in this part of the buffer here a while back. Tree cutter got a little anxious when he was, or overexcited when he was doing this area, and we had replanted some whips down there. I don't have a tree for tree count. However, the area seems be taking off, has a lot of good growth, and I'll defer to the commission if there's more that needs to be done, but I think actually going in there might create more impact than adding any more trees if it's there, but seems in good growing condition. The treatment plant, which is down here, and the expansion that I mentioned last time, the question came up of as if the commission had seen that this was in multiple phases, and I had looked up a modification we did about this area, and really what the modification entailed was the original design had all this area up a little bit higher, really level with building I, and we had to drop it down. So when that happened, we did a modification, and at that point we had the design that showed really 3 buildings here going in. And so now, I can show what the plan is for that, but we're going to just 1 new building and another set of tanks. So again, when I get to future work, I'll address that. As you know, the conservation restriction is underway. The attorney is officially under contract, so we'll see more of that as we go. And that's sort of the history. There's some things that we saw outstanding and whatnot for older obligations, if you will.
And you've got your reporting has come in that you had needed from Stefan?
No, not
It's
yet.
right here.
Why, yes, I have.
That's the monitor.
The monitoring, and what we did is we just really just wrote one that covers this, the past, some things that were done, some photos. Having just done a site walk myself today before this, I may do a supplemental. I saw a couple extra details that I'd like Stefan to add in there, so maybe we'll do another follow-up one this coming week also. So for a couple extra things. So current work and ongoing work. I think Amy had mentioned the turtle fence, or there was, I don't know if there was an issue there, but we had, Stefan said he'd addressed that, and I actually walked that tonight. All looks good. It all looks tucked in on the ground. It looks in good shape. Doesn't look great from the top, but it's doing its job, that it's built in there. The wetland replication we did down here for any newer members. There was some wetland filling as part of the approved project here, and a replication area that was done down here. I believe we had done all of our required immediate reports while you were still working with us, or did we?
I think just
you
one
want
or one
the
season.
final one.
Yeah.
So we were
It
going to
needs a final.
go back in and do a final, check on any invasive species, things like that. We can certainly provide that.
So then you would do, so because there were plantings in there, to do like an inventory kind
Yes.
of, if there needs to be some new plantings put in?
Yep, replace any that didn't survive or whatnot. The field reports that we just talked about, we'll keep going, and I think, I was going to suggest we keep going quarterly until, real earthwork starts. But as you'll see, as I get through this here, we may have some work starting, so we'll probably go to monthly again. As soon as those kick up, which may be as early as the end of this month, assuming we're okay with everything. And on top of that, I guess it's a good segue into the fact between the wetland replication inspection and this is that, as most of you know, Amy was our consultant when we started this project, and then she took a fantastic new job And we were never quite able to fully replace her and her expertise, and we, Stefan.
And you never will.
Never will, never will.
I'll say it.
And so Stefan, our on-site construction manager, took over the monitoring reports. However, after the meeting a couple weeks ago, Sam wanted to sort of up the expertise we have on staff, so we are likely going to hire Steve Ivis, who did some work for us previously. I don't know if anyone on the board has worked with him. I know Amy is at least acquainted with him, to act as our environmental consultant. He is a agent in Milton himself, and does a lot of this work. So for lack of a better description, he's going to help us babysit ourselves, make sure we meet all these, and speak a little more intelligently to things going on here, for such as wetland replication and any other issues. Sort of as current and transition to future, there's some areas where we have hay bales and silt fence, and sort of as general spring practice, we're going to refresh anything that's not in a developed area, really around building J, K, and around building M. Just need refreshing. There's some pictures in the report that have trees down and some certainly failing silt fence.
The challenge with this report, Tim, is that you're referencing work in 2017 in terms of significant precipitation, but yet it's commented on pending work, which is pending now, but then the narrative through this backdates to 17. So when they make narrative, they should comment on the date. This monitoring plant report goes from 4/16/2017 to 4/5/2019, so that would lead us to believe that we have not received one since 2017, based on the way this is presented.
Mm-hmm.
So certainly we've had significant precipitation since 10/30/2017. So
Yeah, there've been site walks in between them, but they never got turned into a formal monitoring report.
right. So, but it's hard when you have pending work. There's no dates. So this could be pending work in 2000, whenever.
Yep.
So I wouldn't accept that report. I don't
But I'll
think
keep
Okay.
you can. Yeah, but
You can keep it.
I'm saying it's not acceptable. We'll take it.
But it's
But
something
that-
we can build on?
Yeah.
They will build on.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, I think that's more confusing than anything else.
So moving into the future work, to speak more of that, and we certainly can add more detail to that. It's not a problem. The few things that we had touched on last week. So the first is that on the building K pad, there is a contractor who's looking to take out some of our excess soils that are here. And one thing I'm not sure I made clear is that the work they're doing is helping us get to the pad grade that was on the design plans. So it's not new or a change to what was there. It's just that we left it at a higher grade, and they're coming in to take some of that away for us. So
But it is in the buffer zone.
it is actually, we're hoping the work to be outside of the buffer zone. This is sort of a zoomed-in area of the pad. This is what you see now as you drive up down to Constitution Ave. This is the Metro Rock entrance here. This is, actually this buffer zone needs to be adjusted. This was a portion of wetland filling, but you could see it would connect down here. So this is really the 100-foot buffer zone closest to where that work would be. This is plenty of fill, we believe, and if for some reason we think they're not quite there as they're approaching this way, we'll keep you posted and monitor that, but there's no reason they can't stay out of here. We are certainly going to line the perimeter of this with hay bales, anything in the work zone, have construction pads, just good typical practice. So even though it's outside the buffer zone, we're not asking for any special treatment. We still want to do our due diligence and protection of sediment as well.
So track pad for when it comes onto the street, because what happened when we've had other buildings going on up here is that the mud tracked past here and then got caught in the basins. So, and then the basins have to be cleaned because that's a discharge back over to basin 2.
Sorry, that's the treatment
Three.
plant area.
No, I'm
No,
sorry,
no,
this
no.
is building K.
Yep,
So
we're
this
over-
is
Up at the
this
top
is the
of the
top of the
Top
hill.
on the right.
The cinema's here. the new Metro rock climbing skier. This is just the seated pad.
It's in front of the hill that goes up to
And
Westford.
the
Right.
page where all the notes are is where the hill is there. So.
So you'd want to talk about sweeping and then also keeping, we've had challenges keeping the road clean. So talk about sweeping and just checking the catch basins.
And I think that's fine. I think the sweeping and making it look presentable is also just as important to us as protecting the wetlands, because this
Just because of what happened with the bank,
is open.
and they weren't as diligent, so when the
Yeah.
bank got put in.
And this is likely with a system like this, there's an in and an out as they go, as they dig into this hill. So that's sort of the intent of having two of these, so that when they're coming in and going in whatever direction they're going, they'll have a trackpad at either end.
Is this some more of that fill that's fairly silty? Or?
Yes, it's actually why they want it. Apparently they're doing a dam restoration project,
Onyx.
Onyx, so that's what we're looking to do. But this will be obviously a clear subject of the monitoring reports, moving forward as soon as they start. They're looking to start, I believe, as early as the end of the month or in May, depending on the.
How long would you anticipate it taking?
I don't know the exact answer to that, but I don't, this is not an all-summer project, I don't think. I think it's limited to a few weeks, and I can certainly confirm that for the board, because I don't actually know that answer.
So just to, as a reminder that once this erosion control is up, then call Amy before the trucking starts.
Okay.
To go over the tracking pad too.
How often do you change the truck pads? Is it, does someone monitor it and say, oops, okay, now it's time, or is there an interval you follow?
This would be a question probably better suited for Stefan, how often they need to be, but I think it's just a monitor when tracking seems to be not working, that he gets replaced.
And so seems to be not working is we're getting like a little bit of tracking
Excessive-
there, or it's way
excessive-
down?
No, I think even, as soon as you get out of here,
So important to have
Not
those
far.
discussions with your crew and, the guys out there that,
Yeah.
when it's,
And
when it's time.
what's a little bit advantageous for us in this situation with issues like that is that they're getting the dirt for free from us, provided they do all these controls. So we have the ability to just shut them down and say, go buy it
Yep.
if you don't take care of it. So
And
when
somebody
it's our
has to
own-
be there to,
And they bring the
Right.
sweeper.
and are you gonna have 100% like presence at the site when they're doing
Yes,
this? You are?
so
Okay.
our construction manager, Stefan Trubis, works in
Oh,
our
Stefan.
offices right here.
Okay.
All this way you can have clear sight, line of sight,
Yeah.
all day, every day.
I wonder if there's any restrictions on weather, like if it's heavy rain or something like that, that they can't be in there, because that's going to create a mess coming out of there.
I think it might be more of an issue dust. With that particular fill, that's what would be the dust coming out on the, and then get the rain.
That's a good
But
point,
it's the dust that they gotta keep swept up.
because the dust is gonna go into the buffer. It's a good point, Jeff.
A water truck, obviously, can be
Well,
kept.
Blow up to the residences.
It's almost like you have to sweep it almost daily if they're tracking any
Yeah,
dusty stuff out of there.
yeah.
So those are
Unbelievable.
things prior to start, just to communicate what the
Control.
process is
Yep.
for Stefan.
Yep.
Dust and mud. Depends. Yeah. It's like feast or famine.
So I go so vital and was looking over here. There's something discharging out of the corner of this building. There's like a big black. I'm not. Yeah,
Like a stream of water or like a,
Yeah, push down.
discharge. It's been repeated discharge. It's just like a large black area. Something's coming out of the pipe, and it's below like the. Yeah, check it out.
it's coming out the
Over by
building?
stairs?
Coming out the building?
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's
actually,
over
I
by
have a
stairs.
photo. I can
Roof,
show you.
roof runoff or?
No,
Oh.
it's a pipe. It's coming out of a pipe.
Yeah. It's been there.
Let's see. Pictures of
I don't know if it's on the
kids.
plan.
Here we go.
I know there's a roof overflow, but it's meant to be overflow, so that's my concern. Wow!
Yeah.
I'll ask Stefan
So
about
you can
that.
check that out.
I apologize for not knowing exactly
When
what
the
that
engineer
is.
says that,
Yeah.
So,
So
it's really an
not-
architect plumbing
yeah.
question, because it's touches the
So
building, so
there's
I'll ask
something,
him
yeah.
what that is. I'm sorry, he hasn't raised that issue to me,
It's been going
so.
on for a while.
So it's not, it's something. It's definitely getting him trained in stormwater, whatever it is.
not making it very nice looking there, that's for sure.
It's like making its way down the.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that would be. Can't be drained.
Yeah, I'm not
See-
sure either,
see-
but it's, I mean, there's definitely, it's something.
So, okay, so some follow-up here, obviously a little more details, which we can have to provide, and follow up with Amy. Moving on to the next future one that I had mentioned, sort of on the fly last week, was the treatment plant, which is here. I've done a brief overlay. So this is building I, Market Basket is down here, this is sort of way out back. In black line here, this is the existing treatment plant building. These are a series of tanks in front of it, here, that are all existing. And the original intent that was shown on that modification was that this would be repeated, this building and these series of tanks, 2 more times as we expanded the plant. We've since, as we moved on, redesigned it to be 1 expansion to max out our flows. So in red, which I know is a little bit difficult to see, there'll be a building attached right to the existing building. And then the tanks are slightly larger than these, but not as big as what we had before.
And that was
Within the
approved?
footprint. This, the treatment plant was approved? Yes.
That whole footprint was approved in the first
Yes,
filing.
this whole footprint and this under drain here sort of define the perimeter of what would go on in this area. And the footprint goes out to, this is the edge of where the tanks were.
I thought you said under the
Existing.
modification, it was the expansion.
So we did a
clarify?
modification where we lowered this area here.
Oh, but the footprint
And
remained
the
the same,
footprint,
it's just an elevation.
we'd shown the footprint of
difference.
these 3 buildings on that.
Because there's a lot of water, there's a lot of breakout over there.
And I think,
That's why we had to add more.
Yeah,
Water
those were
come
deep
down.
holes.
Right, yeah.
so
Okay.
Think about that.
I'm hoping to the benefit of this effort is now we have a good stand of vegetation, whereas before
Right.
this
Yeah, the
was
whole-
all under construction.
Yeah.
Now this is all stabilized really well. Any dirt that comes out of here is going away. We're not gonna try to stockpile it anywhere else, it's gone, so they're gonna
It'd be
dig a hole.
interesting to know where groundwater's at there,
So,
when we start to, because we're gonna have to look at dewatering definitely.
Should be
Yeah.
similar to the wetlands.
It's,
Wetlands is
There's
up,
a wetland.
yeah.
Or are they up high?
yeah, what's
Yeah.
weird is that the
Yeah.
whole thing was on the
Okay.
hill, right? So this is
So
sort
it's
of cutting into
drainage.
it.
Okay.
So I would imagine that dewatering would be a, something to address as they
I
go.
wonder if there's a way just to do a test to see where that water is.
There is a geoprobe.
Yeah, before we start to,
But you had water
into
coming out of the hill.
a lot
It
coming out
seeps.
now. This is definitely not a spring. When are you thinking of doing that?
Hopefully May. So we would like to get.
gonna say,
that's good.
Not a spring activity.
Not a spring, yeah, hopefully May, because we need to get this online for where we are today in a timeline on our DEP permit for this.
I would
those
encourage,
features.
if you're looking at May, that we would need to do some testing and really figure out where we're gonna dewater. Are you
So,
thinking of putting it on the top of one, the water?
the dewatering,
You're right.
I think it's for discussion. I was trying to think of the best place to do it, and I didn't have an answer for that yet, other than pumping it up and perhaps giving a controlled flow across the building iPad before it went through this, which goes through a storm scepter and treated and out.
Do some testing.
But I do think we'll have water issue. I don't know if we need to do the testing. I would be shocked if we didn't hit water. So I'd rather jump to the next step and figure out what's a good way to
Frac
dewater
tanks.
it in whatever fashion.
I think that's,
So do you concur this is a modification but needs more detail?
A minor modification?
Yeah, so not necessarily a new filing, that's what I just wanted to see.
this is gonna be
Yeah,
a
it-
lot of work.
Yeah, I don't think it's minor.
So an amended order condition?
I think this is gonna be a lot of time, and I think it's gonna be a lot of the agent's time out there as well. I know that we can't run a tremendous of water down through there, because it's just gonna, it'll erode.
But the original plan, there always was gonna be more tanks out there, right?
Correct.
They
But then
maybe-
they've lowered it, so the there's
Right,
gonna
so
be
you have
even
more
more water.
dewatering.
And since then, we've learned that there is a lot more water historically coming from there, so you know, we've learned from the lessons. We've had to make modifications to accommodate that going in. We had to reroute the drainage to the rear. So I feel like we've already made accommodations to get that in there, and now we're gonna make accommodations for the expansion. I just don't think it's a minor modification. I think it's gonna be a lot of work.
What's the elevation difference you're looking at?
From where? So
From
this is all
the
about
original-
elevation 240. This is already cut.
Originally proposed?
This was already cut down to the
Okay.
grade. We're
So
not
it's
changing the
ac-
grade.
it's
that's
accurate.
absolutely- Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
This
no,
this
no,
pad is
grade.
already.
So what was grade before?
Before we did any of this work, it was up at 247-ish.
Okay, so 5
And we've
feet.
cut down
So
to
5 feet?
probably 7 feet.
7 feet? Okay.
Just down there.
That's pretty significant from a groundwater.
So I'm happy
irrigation
to,
standpoint.
yeah, I'm happy to
Yeah, we
present
need to discuss it.
the, more in-depth, more details on erosion controls and dewatering. I don't know if it needs a full amended notice of intent, because the scope isn't changing, it's just the erosion controls. And I don't want to belittle that, but I don't know if that's,
Well, so are you gonna take all the water off then? So if you can dewater off-site, then it'll be minor? So if you're not saying you're gonna put any of the dewatering,
But then we take water away from the system itself. That's a consideration too. Do you need you're doing a groundwater discharge permit for?
this is already approved for the
DEP?
groundwater discharge permit.
So you already
for
have a
the
discharge
sewer,
permit. Do you have
yes.
a copy of the permit?
I don't think I
We
do.
should get a copy
can
of that.
provide it if
Yeah,
you
that'd be
like.
helpful. I think that would be helpful, because there's information you have to prepare as part of that permit that may help answer some of what we're trying to get to. But I do think it's another discussion. I don't think.
right, I don't
it's-
think we have enough information to determine what type of, if it's amended or minor or what that is, because we don't know the full scope.
Sure, and this is, just to clarify, this is just, would be construction dewatering. We don't need like a permanent dewatering
Right,
facility
of
just to
course.
get the tanks in
You
and done,
hope.
so.
Well, unless you hit something, like we've done over at Durkee's. Like if there's a spring up there or something, if we hit something else, digging.
Sure, so that one, I guess we could do the test for, but I think given the soil profile and what's here, this is a groundwater pattern that's just following the slope of the land and not necessarily a spring from there. But we can provide more detail on all those controls. So, last one, this is the last piece I want to update, sort of back to the beginning. The overall schedule to do for the rest of the project. Obviously, some of the soil remover here, expansion here is a little more immediate. This summer, we had hoped to, which brings on the question of the extension, was to prep the final pads we're looking at as building M, which is generally prepped to grade around the perimeter, but we just need to clean up the top and give it some kind of temporary permanent stabilization. Building K, export and prep that pad ready for building, and then building J also do the same thing and get the limits of this similar to building M, where this is cut to grade, embankment's built, stabilized, and the pad is ready, and that way there's no more disturbance. And
I'm sorry, Tim, those were J and K, what were they?
J, K, and M. And I, just to round out the picture, I is a building pad that's already ready. So.
How do you access building pad I behind?
It's behind marking basket.
Is it, you take that road where the delivery trucks would go?
Yep, and there's a whole parking lot right behind there, and it's in front of that. This building is owned and controlled by Market Basket. They own their own buildings and there are lots that go with it. They have no immediate plans to do any buildings there, so there's nothing pending. It'll stay like that pad for.
Is there any of those that are pending? Like, do you have people?
No, other than building M and the hotel, that was the most recent
That
pending.
was
That's
it.
obviously gone, so these are just
Waiting.
waiting to determine, currently leasing now. But we'd like to clean everything up, close it
Yeah.
out, that way it's,
Right.
no major earthwork disturbance of any kind, just building pad construction.
There's supposed to be a boardwalk between K and the parking lot through that wetland.
There is going over and it was set on helical piers
Yeah.
as per the original
I don't know
design that's
if you
there.
care if that gets done sooner rather than later, or just
Do you need it?
whenever. We're not gonna need it until there's some people to go to.
We obviously don't need it till the building is there
I mean,
and.
B2 is pretty vacant and just seems like,
Yeah.
why would we
The reason
disturb a wetland for
Yeah.
no reason?
The reason for that was to make, depending on what this was, some
Mhm.
connectivity over there, pedestrian-wise, to make the connection through there.
Yeah, okay.
To be honest, till we really know what this might be use that doesn't want the connection, and we just, in the original
It's
permit.
good to encourage walking though too, because that would be quite the walk all the way down.
Correct. So in the
Yeah.
original permit, we had proposed it, but if it was something that really doesn't require it, then.
So I mean, the things that they need to bring in is updated reporting, data on 2 and 3.
Yep.
For the next meeting, are you hearing them out at the next?
Groundwater discharge permit.
Yep. And then more data on the rear project
On the which project?
in your back.
The treatment plant.
The treatment
Oh,
plant.
okay.
So our next meeting is April 22nd. No, yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to be continued to the 22nd.
Is that all?
I don't think so, it's on the list.
Yes, April 22nd is the next meeting. It's the May ones that are, or April,
When's Patriots?
that's the 15th.
Marathon.
Tweet from today.
Marathon Monday.
Yeah. Screw it, I know, we gotta get moving.
Okay.
All right,
So
but I
can
need-
we continue?
We can continue, I don't know if you want to do anything about the extension permit,
Can't, you don't have all that data.
in which case here,
Thank you.
so that's it's recorded.
So which, you wanted the groundwater?
I want to see the groundwater discharge permit because it should have, there's information you need to provide in the permit that may help answer some of the questions we have regarding site conditions and regarding, you have to say what you're going to do with the water. There's just all sorts of information
So
that's
if you
required
send
that could be
to
helpful
Amy,
for
then
us.
Amy can send
Yeah,
it along?
Sure.
I can look at it.
Okay, great.
And managing expectations, the CR is gonna take close to a year to make it all the way through and get to the Secretary of Environmental Affairs and all
You
that
guys
stuff.
already met on it?
Who's
Yeah,
the-
Ray and I are gonna
Ray.
go out, right now, we're scheduled for April 25th, I think, to do the baseline documentation stuff. It's just, it grinds.
Okay. So but that is started, so Ray has engaged
Yeah.
you, it sounds
And
like,
actually,
which
as it
is
turned
farther
out,
than we
apparently
were last
several of
time.
the attorneys who do CRs in this area have all retired at the same time.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
So suddenly, yeah.
Hooray.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving along. Project change, Patriot Beverage, IME rail siding. Mass DEP number 204-871.
Good evening.
You guys responsible for the road closing this weekend? What's that to do with your project?
for it, but Keolis is.
Oh,
It's unrelated to our project.
Yeah. Didn't have to
your
do with the
project.
siding?
No,
Switching?
no, that had something to do with whatever they were fixing the area around the tracks there.
That's the wetlands.
Welcome back.
Everybody got one now?
Yeah, you can have it that way, we all have.
Alrighty, thank you for coloring that.
I'm gonna take you all out.
Dig right in.
Sure, so we had gotten together a few weeks ago in March to discuss the proposed modification to the project, which was to remove the under drain from the project design. And that led to a discussion about revising our O&M plan, for pellet spills on the site, and also modifying it for other spills for hazardous material, things like that. So we prepared a revised O&M plan that covers all of those items. It has a plan for the loading and an unloading of the rail cars, procedure that will minimize spills, we believe.
Okay.
also includes a inspection procedure and checklist for inspecting the dry well, which is the pellet spill containment structure.
Okay. And what's the time frame on the,
On the inspections?
Yep.
Monthly.
okay,
So there's-
unless there's an event.
Right, and then it's 7
Right,
days.
and then it's
if
7
they
days
notice.
Then it's
yeah.
within-
following the
okay.
event, correct?
Notification is within a short time, but then your procedure to clean up is within 7 days, correct?
Correct.
Is that stated somewhere?
I believe so. Yes, on the third page of the document, clean up any spills within 7 days.
Where's notification?
The notification,
I know we talked about it. The notification was in like between 24, 36, and then cleanup
Well,
was within 7.
So in, where it
Oh.
says spills during unloading and disposal,
Okay,
it says report spills immediately to me as the general manager.
right, but
And
you're,
then
if you're not
So I have-
there,
Yes.
so there has to be some
So in
the
procedure.
next.
It looks like in the
actually,
back.
It's in, it's, yeah, it's part of that.
Page 1 of
document.
5.
Yeah.
Names and.
So it's page 2 of 5, it says, GM shall notify appropriate Mass DEP office of the incident if the
Right.
spill is at or exceeding the reportable limit, and the Littleton Conservation Commission shall be notified within 24 hours of the
Okay,
incident.
perfect.
right.
Okay, awesome.
I think the next page has phone numbers and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, in the back, there's
Where is it
actual contact
going?
information just before the
Okay.
site plan. So that has the full notification procedure for
Great. Okay.
hazardous spills, including
Thank you
who to
for
contact.
showing us that.
Yes. The fire department's on here too, as well.
Yep.
And then all the DEP contacts for the local region are included as well.
Okay.
We've also included I guess what used to be known as a material safety data sheet
Mhm.
for the pellets themselves that
Safety.
basically, yes, safety data sheet. Basically, the non-hazardous, non-toxic nature of the pellets themselves.
I think one of our concerns too, acknowledging that they're non-toxic is, it could be misconstrued as, food for amphibians or fish or something. So
Right.
that was a concern that we have that wouldn't necessarily be covered in, like your spills or stormwater necessarily. That's an
Exactly.
additional concern for us. So
Right.
that's part of why we, want to know so much about
Sure.
if it, if these spill where it can go.
Right, they're non-toxic, but we can all agree that we want them outside of the waterway.
I mean, how many
Out of the
whales have been
environment.
in the news recently, dead with like pounds and pounds of plastic, so our little
Yeah.
guys are gonna do it too, so. That's part of our concern with. And are you gonna do, a no exposure certificate or, a stormwater industrial permit? Have you figured that out yet?
That's what, Chris was gonna look into that,
Okay.
as far as what our requirements were for that. But we have the,
Okay.
stormwater, was it SWPP?
SWIP.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the construction SWIP, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so the operational SWIP would
Mhm.
be useful to have on file once you, either that or your no exposure certificate if you go that route.
Yeah.
But your SIC is definitely in as far as needing to do one or the other.
Yeah.
Warehouses are in, so
Mhm.
injection molding and stuff.
Is that something they can submit after? or-
Yeah, we don't need it now. Yeah, a stormwater permit, or if they haven't determined which direction they're gonna go, that's not something we need to hold them up for.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's operational. That's the.
Was there anything else from the previous meeting going forward that had brought forth changes?
No, I think we included everything that was requested. We marked up the plan to indicate all the structures that'll be inspected on an ongoing basis. Aside from the dry well, there's also the two site catch basins. So if there's any spills, those will be inspected afterwards and then on an ongoing basis as well. And that includes the oil water separator, which is just before the outfall to the pond, and the stormwater metering vault, which intercepts stormwater before it reaches the wetland across the side of the tracks.
Amy, did you have any other questions? I know you had a chance to look at it.
No, I had one comment about getting the Conscom phone number on there, but I told him not to make the change yet in case you had any, and just reissue it
Right.
tomorrow or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I saw what I was looking for in there.
Much
I
better,
would just,
it's thorough.
but I would just say, you know, it would be good to have their SWIP on file or your no exposure certification
Sure.
on file once you figure out what direction you're gonna go in.
Okay. Very good.
So I think you're looking to move, to approve this as a modification, not requiring further submittal, that's
Yeah. So I'll make a motion to approve this as a minor modification. Do I need the file number? And all that in the
Yep,
motion?
yep.
Still, okay. For a minor project change at Patriot Beverage IME rail siding, Mass DEP number 204-871.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
If you can just submit that thing, that would be great, with the updates.
Sure.
No, that's fine.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Continued discussion, 86 Colonial Drive, U32-101-0, Mass DEP file number 204-665, possible wetland violation.
Welcome back.
Thanks. So, I called Amy a little late today, so I apologize. I'm sure you didn't get the message. So, last time we were here, we had the discussion about putting the erosion controls around, which has been done. You wanted it resurveyed, which was done, but we only got that last week. I did send it to Amy just now when I was sitting here. So I'm working with Norse Environmental to figure out what the next step is, because one of the suggestions you had given me was I need to come up with a plan on how to reestablish this. So one question that we had was, or that I have, is are we working within the existing order of conditions, or am I looking to put in like an I don't really know what all this means, but is it an enforcement order to be done, or am I looking that I have to put in a new NOI?
Which is notice of intent. So basically spelling it out what you're gonna do going forward.
Okay. I don't know what the next
If
step
we're under
is.
enforcement, I don't know.
I usually have
Or
to
an
do.
amendment.
You do an NOI on the tail of an enforcement?
Okay.
I mean, I know if you
Well, a lot of
plan,
times
I know you have to do the
enforcement
plan.
order requires
Enforcement
filing
makes you
notice
do
of
that.
intent for the restoration, or you can do it under the auspices of the enforcement order.
I don't
One thing I
think
will
the
say is the
existing-
original NOI order condition
Yeah, I don't-
is expired.
Yeah, I don't know that that gets us very far.
I thought we did talk about doing an NOI. Because that way it basically shows what has to be done.
Yeah, and
Didn't
you
we?
got it
I thought we did.
recorded and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so I need to go with an NOI.
Yep, and your engineer will know that, so
Okay.
basically outlining the work that's going to go forward with the project and then how you're going to bring it back.
Okay, so then the other thing that came up, and Amy, I'm not sure if the highway director had spoke to you. I had asked him to come out because I'm getting a lot, there's a woman up the street that's well is actually discharging into the road, which is what that water is. But there's
Artesian.
there's nothing that his hands are tied because there's
It's
no,
private property.
well, there's no bylaw or whatever it might be that can make him stop her. So,
Did Chris talk to
No,
them?
it's a well.
so I'm not,
It's
so.
not a well, it shows on,
Oh.
I met Chris out there and I talked to Jim Gareffi about it, we pulled out the old plans, it was showed as a dry well to be abandoned.
I
And
just
so
remember
it must
Shirley
have been
had the
attached to a
problems.
pump,
Okay.
and apparently it was either never abandoned or water still coming out of it.
Yeah, because Chris had come out to the property, and we walked it and found the pipe it was coming out of.
Yeah.
And so he was going to go to you the next step and then figure
Right.
out what the plan was. But that's a lot of my issue for that area, is I'm just constantly getting that runoff. So I think he's got to be incorporated in the next step at some
Sounds like
point
an
to
MS
Well,
figure
yeah, I met Chris out there, and I think that the road issue and the person across the street issue is kind of a separate thing.
But it's
That
going
if
onto that
Chris
area
needs
in
to do
question.
drainage to deal with that or repair the road, that's still gonna end up in the culvert that comes out on your property.
Right. So it's still going to, like, I'm still inheriting this. Like, I don't really, particularly, it's not my concern to
It
fix.
was always there, though. So regardless of your inheritance, it was always there. So it was a pre-existing condition.
I think it used
So
to
the
be
wa-
going
the
into
wa-
a wetland that's not there.
Yeah,
this
the
time.
water always used to be going there.
So I work within it, or I don't, like, I don't understand what I do with it then.
You can't.
Because
so you
that
can't
water
stop the
is,
water.
that area that's before the culvert, the area that's not, because the water doesn't have a firm direction to go into that culvert like it's supposed to, that area that's been disrupted is so wet because of that water. So I don't know what I can do. I guess that would be part of my plan, that I'd have to talk to the environmental guy. Is that the right answer?
Because that water was probably going there prior to the building anyways.
Okay.
So,
My understanding is it used to be wetland up to the wall of the septic system, and it's been filled.
Yeah, I had to
So
top dress
that's
it,
where the
yeah.
water used to go.
Yeah, so, okay, so I need to like, just talk to the environmental guy and know how to restore that, is what the plan is.
tell him what,
Well, did Chris talk to the owner? Do you know?
I don't know, the
Okay.
last conversation I had with him is he was going to you,
Yeah.
and then he was gonna get back to me, and I hadn't heard from him.
so just share that
So-
with your engineer, that, you know, the water was going there, but you top dressed it, so now it doesn't have as
Okay,
easy of a flow.
okay. So, yeah, I guess, in speaking with him today, I didn't have enough time or information to prepare what we needed, but if we could get on the next meeting for April 22nd, I think it is, he
22nd.
said he would prepare a plan and at least start the conversation, if that's okay. Or
I mean,
May,
it sounds
whatever.
to me too like the chasing the origin of this water isn't going to be fruitful. So I would encourage you to
Deal with
At
it.
this time.
talk to him as though
should
this
she
water
look
isn't.
into
Always
So it's
gonna
just
be
gonna be there.
Yeah.
Yep, that's
Because-
fine.
Because it always was.
So you don't. I'm just saying.
Okay,
so you don't
yeah.
spin your wheels
There's not gonna be
because it
time.
just sounds like it's.
Yeah, it's fine. If it's always been there, like, again, I inherited this project, so I'm walking into it kind of blind. So I'll work on the condition that it was always there, and how do we get it back?
Right.
That's what we want
So
to do.
you continue this.
Yeah, so what it sounds like is continue the discussion, get the plan going. There's not time to have a notice of intent
Right.
submitted and posted before the 22nd.
No, I think
But-
he
but
was just
that's-
asking which direction do I
Yeah.
go,
There needs to be more
that he
dedication.
wanted a
No,
clarification.
it's
And I
like,
think
yeah,
it's-
we're
I
already
think it's
under an
best-
enforcement umbrella,
yeah.
so I think that
Can go ahead and start to think about the notice of intent, but I think take the feedback that you bring in at the next meeting, because that will define some of the language that you put into your notice of intent.
Okay,
I would encourage you to bring your engineer at the next meeting.
okay, I will. Okay, thanks.
Maybe we'll give you time.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks.
the audience have.
No?
It looked
Oh.
like somebody.
Anybody have any questions?
Any other questions? No. Okay. It just looks. Told people it's like they might have had.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Continued public hearing, notice of intent, 11 Worcester Drive, U32-144-0, Mass DEP number 204-879, demolition of an existing dwelling and construction of a new dwelling, septic system, driveway, and utilities. Somebody want to speak to that?
Hi. I'm Scott Hayes. Hi. So we were here a few weeks ago for 11 Worcester Road. This is a proposed demolition of an existing house and construction of a new dwelling in a previously developed lot in the buffer zone. I'm pleased to inform the commission we did redesign the house so that it now is outside the 50-foot buffer. And the extent of the work within the 50-foot buffer is removal of the existing dwelling and abandonment of a failed septic system that's being replaced as part of the project. So the rest of the project is between the 50 and the 100-foot buffer zone. And happy to answer any questions.
Any other changes to impervious surface?
Just, well, I did update the site development areas. Basically, the erosion control barrier follows the existing limit of lawn that's out there. And so that's the total developed site area. And the existing and proposed impervious covers were calculated or recalculated. Results are 136 square feet of impervious.
361.
I'm sorry, I'm reading upside down.
Yeah. Let me help you out there.
It's been a long day.
Yeah.
So it's 361 square feet of
Yep.
increase in impervious cover. And basically the balance of that was lawn to impervious. So, that's the
Yeah, the
other
lawn's being
calculation.
reduced.
Right, by the impervious cover number. So we've got, roof, gutter, eave, infiltration trenches proposed along the roof eaves to kind of pick up that marginal increase. I mean, still under your 1,000 square foot threshold, but
Couple things, just as a
5%.
reminder, when they're building that, so because it is in quite a bit of wetlands area in terms of the buffer, that you can't stockpile within 100 feet of the wetlands, so it's gonna be an in and out project. And then, I don't know if you wanna think about where you're gonna de-water, because I think
I
you've gotta-
don't think we'll need to.
You don't think so?
No, well, so we had test holes in this area here, extensive for the septic. The estimated seasonal high water was at 191 and a half, our basement floor is at 193, so
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we're good. The
Good.
soil was surprisingly good here.
Okay.
Surprised.
Well, there's a little bit of fill associated with the road, so that kind of helped, but
Okay.
the water table was about 4.5 feet or so,
Okay.
And we kept the basement floor up because of that.
Yeah.
And you're not expanding the lawn in
No.
the back, you're maintaining that line.
Yeah, this is the
Existing,
existing line of,
and that's gonna
and that's
stay.
just basic, this erosion control line basically just comes up the property line. There's
Okay.
a small encroachment off site, but
Yeah.
this is all pretty much, lawn all the way across, except
Okay.
where this building is, up to about where that stone wall is. I mean, there's sort of a
Yeah.
shrub
Yeah.
line between, it's not much of a stone wall anyway, I don't know if you,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, good.
What's your limit of work here? Like how far within the 50-foot buffer are you proposing to work, like tearing the house down and?
Well, the limited work, we have set at the limit of the existing lawn. So the lawn itself is in particularly good shape. I don't know if it's going to be sodded or loamed and reseeded, but it certainly needs to be restored. It's sort of burned out crabgrass. It was a rental property, so it's not in very good shape.
Is there any amount of it, I know, that can be naturalized instead of?
I mean, the lot is so, the developed area is so constrained as it is. There really isn't much of a yard already. We're not proposing to increase the yard area, so we weren't proposing to really do any restoration. I mean, the balance of the lot is well protected. I mean, this is wetland, and the 50-foot buffer comes up to Concord Drive. I mean, 2/3 of the lot is virtually untouchable because of the wetland bylaw. So, I guess the short answer would be no, we're not proposing any.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion, or anybody have any questions?
No, thank you for working with us.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to address the concerns and getting our feet wet on the wetland bylaw here. So next time we'll be a little better
good.
prepared.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions. You know what we're gonna do?
Stealing Andrew's thunder.
Issue an order of conditions for 11 Worcester Road, U32-144-0, Mass DEP number 204879.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Get your 2 cents.
Hey, come on.
Two's good.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
There you go.
Notice of intent, 94 Nagog Hill Road, 210 Mass DEP file number 204-8XX invasion species control. Somebody want to speak to that?
No, actually, whoops. What? Oh, no, that's me. Yes, this is for the project that you've been hearing a little bit about, for the 5-acre parcel on Nagog between sort of the Sarah Doublet parking lot and the Concord Reservoir. So the proposal is to go in and do invasive species control. There's a lot in there.
Was this along the stone wall? and things?
Down the stone wall and back there, there's a little pond back there, which I don't think you'd actually see
Right.
anymore. And there were some of the original historic, or not too historic, photographs in there when it used to be basically a meadow, and you could see the pond down there. So some of the very initial discussion was to do mechanical as well as a little bit of spraying, but Concord Water did not want any herbicides at all, so
Right.
it
all
will be
mechanical?
entirely mechanical. Some of the work is in wetlands, some of the work is in uplands. And the stuff would be cut down, piled, and burnt when they get a chance to burn it.
Yeah, Rick Finley.
Except if there's
I
poison
think
ivy.
we'll hopefully get some mechanical help in the beginning. Carl Rivenberg has a small track vehicle with something that can allow us to walk in there. Right now, you can't.
They wouldn't even accept like an organic herbicide, like
I don't know. I
burnout,
mean,
vinegar.
Fortunately,
Vinegar,
Roundup
exactly.
should be fine because it binds to soil particles. It doesn't move. So, but there's a deal with that later, maybe.
I don't know. We've been hearing worse things about Roundup lately.
Especially
No,
if the
mostly
person
because we're eating.
applies it.
We're drinking it all the time.
You're drinking
it
all the time. But we've been trying to deal with the invasives for a long time now, and we've had a lot of resistance from Concord. Hopefully they have, I'm not sure anybody's here from Concord tonight, but hopefully we can move forward with it.
You plan to pull it up by the roots?
Which?
The invasive,
You
I
can't,
think
you
we're
can't.
gonna apply the same principle we've been doing at Cloverdale, which is basically to cut everything down and mow it on a regular basis, like every 3 weeks or something, just so that we can try to kill it that way.
would they object to just dotting the stump?
They-
I mean, that would be one way of,
Yeah, paint,
This
that's
makes the
the
most sense for dealing with
painting the
bittersweet,
stump.
for sure.
Yeah.
But,
Roundup will work on that,
No, yeah, I
just
know.
to dabbing it.
I know, but that, I don't think they'll.
Yeah, I think part of what we're sort of hoping to do is at least get this stuff under control and knock down,
Yeah.
see what's out there, see what we're facing, and if treatment makes sense, which it probably does, is go back to Concord then, rather than have the argument now, let's at least get this stuff knocked down,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Is there knotweed too?
I don't know if there is any.
Is mowing knotweed
I don't
can
think
make it
so.
worse? Okay.
If there is,
I
it's
haven't
up,
noticed.
Up on the
maybe
slope.
up by, further
Yeah,
up
I
the hill.
haven't-
Okay.
I don't remember seeing it.
Okay.
There's also like boiling water, steaming.
Oh, there we go.
Get your camp stoves out. Ask for donations.
Some-
Yeah, please
Vinegar
borrow.
comes
Were
up.
we talking like
Or vinegar.
capsaicin, like something that's like a real spice, and then
Salt.
Julie
Oh.
said like a salt? Like there's gotta be some type of.
Capsaicin's not gonna hurt a plant though.
You think it would hurt a plant?
So like pepper spray?
Yeah, seriously.
So we can.
I like your idea about salt.
Something
there.
Pepper spray is better for like
It's, I don't know if
I
any,
understand.
Anybody else got any comments?
Input?
Just here to support.
goats.
Here to support Mary and Jeff here, 91 Nagogville across the street. We just want to express our appreciation to Amy and everyone who's worked on this. We have been fighting the invasives as they come across the
They're
street.
bad.
I know.
It's
We're
like,
winning.
Especially when the wind blows.
and for a while, we were saying it's sort of like the scene from Sleeping Beauty,
Yeah.
when the
Yeah.
spell falls
all the
over her.
thorns. Yeah.
We're just very thankful.
Yeah.
Grateful.
Keep
And
up the
we've
good
had
work.
heard a lot of.
We have been removing it by the roots as much as possible. If you try that, you know what that's like. It's interesting.
It's hard.
So,
Yeah.
Especially when you gaze out over the whole area.
Right.
Daunting.
No, it is.
And
It'll
we've
take the
also
canopy
heard
down though,
many
so.
comments from neighbors. Some of them are here.
Comments, it's very supportive.
Oh,
Okay. Okay.
And I got an email from a neighbor too, Lisa Pyle, also.
Hmm.
I assume this little pond you're talking about is what Charlie irrigated out of. At one point.
No, not the top one.
There's two of them. This was for geese.
I think John Morrison dug
Or he had
those.
his own ducks down there.
Okay. So do we have to have a motion to
No, I
approve
think
this?
that was just an update, wasn't it?
Nope, this is the order of conditions.
Oh, cool. You have a number?
I'm sorry, thank you. Do not have a number, so you can't close it tonight.
Right.
We got the other number, but not this.
Buzzkill.
We can't vote to close it pending
It's
the.
DEP,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So we would just continue it, so we just can't close it until we have the number.
Will you notify us when we can move forward?
Sure.
Yeah.
10 days after the
Notice to
22nd.
proceed.
Yeah, because I don't think anything out there is outside the buffer zone.
Yeah. So the 22nd is the next meeting, assuming that is complete then, so you're waiting for your 10 days. And good to go. Cool. Mark your calendars.
Thanks, Rick.
Neighborhood watch.
Okay,
Thank you.
we gotta go back, 26 Deer Run, O of C sign.
Yep, they're going to get it signed 2 weeks ago, so you can do the honors.
Vernal pool effort.
Yeah, I think you guys have probably seen that. We moved like something like 400 frogs and salamanders.
Yeah,
That's impressive.
Thank God.
The kill list.
I know.
Yeah, I might go out tonight, depends what the weather's doing, but, so, yeah, that was very satisfying, especially because like there's 100 people signed up. And I was afraid I'd get people out there, there'd be too many people, or
Right.
not enough frogs to go around.
They would be run over.
Here's one frog, you can all just pass it across. All the kids
Bucket
got,
brigade across
yeah,
the.
literally, all the kids got to hold salamanders.
Oh,
So,
there you
so
go.
it was excellent. And we got, Scott Smyers, is going to do a indoor presentation on vernal pools, which also had a lot of, a great
Wednesday.
reception Wednesday night, yeah, if anyone's interested in that. And then.
Change the location.
Coaching soccer.
Change the, oh, yep, she's on top of it.
Yeah,
I saw that come through.
And there might be a field, let's go visit a vernal pool thing, but I told Bettina, who's over in Acton, I'm out. If she wants to organize it, I've had enough, thank you very much.
What was the combo frog? Was it just frogs?
Oh, that was just,
I was wondering
they
what
weren't,
that
they
was.
were just counting frogs, they weren't saying if it was a wood frog or a.
Okay, that's what I assumed, but I was like, oh, wood frog, dead frog, peeper, combo frog. I haven't heard of that frog before.
Combo.
I'm guessing that's it, yeah.
Order,
I think I thought they'd got
Yeah,
pushed
sounds
on top
like
of each
it.
other or something.
Yeah.
Spotted salamander, dead.
In my travels this last weekend, I noticed a bunch of signs. I mentioned to Amy, this was over in Lancaster, Sterling, Bolton area that people had posted. I didn't know, was that something, Amy, did you want some funding for?
Like
or-
permanent signs or just seasonal signs?
Right.
I've seen both. What I like about permanent signs is I don't have to go out and change them, but people stop seeing signs if they're up all the time.
Right.
But otherwise, it means going out and putting them up and down. So I think last time you guys did vote that I was gonna go ahead and look into what it costs.
Yep.
And same for turtles, which might go up over at Long Lake, so
Yeah.
I did get a,
Kimball Road is huge roadkill for baby turtles over
Oh, yeah.
by Littleton Animal Hospital.
Oh,
Road.
Kimball
Yeah,
Road,
yeah.
right, yeah.
Oh, it's bad.
Yeah. And they're so small.
There's a, I know they're
You
tiny.
can't-
There's a
they're
low
like
spot.
Size of a quarter.
It's lower there than
yeah.
down.
So you don't,
I have yet
well,
to
you
have
haven't
my
got
first
anything about
guest.
I
it?
haven't done anything.
I always get
Okay.
them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'll make it or not.
3 Winchester Drive, Crestview, and 5 Scott Road site walks.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Last is for the week of April 15th.
So, 3 Westchester, that's Kyle's plan. He zigzagged the house so he's out of the 50 and still able to put the septic system in the front yard. And he would be exceedingly grateful if he would do the site walk before he actually comes in on April 22nd. They have filed. And Matt Morrow is the consultant for that, and he is also going to be working with Peter Scott. So I don't know if you wanted to try to do 3 Westchester and 5 Scott on the same evening. I'm assuming evening.
Possibly.
And then do the rest a different time. Matt said he could do it next week on either the 17th or 18th.
Why can't we just like do it now and get it done? While we're all here, pick a date. I don't like picking like future dates.
You mean you wanna go out now, Sarah?
I'd rather go out.
Let's go. You know what, I get my head
I'd rather go out.
I know, I had to hassle
Who
you.
knows what next week is gonna bring? You know, so I can plan this week.
Wednesdays are terrible for me for the foreseeable future, but I could make Thursday.
But also 5 Chestnut Lane.
Friday during the day.
Your favorite is ready for, thinks they're ready for sticker compliance. I'm just wild guessing here that you guys might want to see it and not just have me go out and look at
Have
it.
you gone out? Like,
No, I have not.
yeah, but you're gonna go out and you're gonna laugh. I mean, we all go out and if it's ready.
5 Chestnut
Wait,
Lane
Five Chestnut. What is that?
might be ready.
Crescent?
Nothing else is.
No.
But, so,
Well, that would be good, because then we can go and walk the bridge and.
Harvard Road, off Harvard, up by Jim's.
Oh.
And
Okay.
I can show you really a
Yeah.
well that has blown its gasket.
Yeah, right, okay.
I was just gonna say, is that the one with the well that's...
The artesian wells.
that stopped. They got that under control.
The one on the left.
Oh, okay, yes.
That one that way.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so what are we?
So Crestview, what the hell is Crestview? Oh, Crestview, they do have that staked. If you want to go hike back up to the top of the hill and see the houses and stuff.
Well,
Really open the room.
And 51 Hartwell, the volleyball court in the conservation, there she is. The
Oh,
volleyball
okay.
court restoration.
Sounds like we need one Saturday.
Yeah, we could do that.
I've got travel and I coach soccer. My Saturdays are
No Saturday.
like full of Sundays.
Full of life.
Yeah.
All right, so can we
Youth sports.
start to throw some dates out and then you can just tell us where to go?
I can do Thursday evenings. I can do during the day on Fridays for days that I can't make another site walk because I work from home on Fridays, so I can
Does
just
that
pop
become
out.
official?
Yeah, I can pop
Yeah,
out
I
and
can
look
do
at stuff.
Friday.
I could do next Friday, at least,
It's Good
during the
Friday,
day.
and if anybody.
Oh, what?
Yeah,
matters.
I could do next Friday or either the 18th or 19th during the day or evening.
I can do.
I can't do the 19th because I'm traveling, but I can do the 12th.
Yeah, I can do the 12th. I can do this Friday.
The 12th?
Yeah.
Or kind of like earlier versus
Yeah.
later. I've got to be done by 4 or 6.
So Friday the 12th at,
Can anybody do? Who can do Friday late afternoon? Anybody?
I can do Friday.
What's
this
late,
Friday.
what's late
Evening.
afternoon?
Can you do Friday?
I can
Evening.
do late afternoon.
5:30.
Can't do evening. You've
If
gone-
I do late afternoon, I will have
I could do 5:30.
a 5 and a 7-year-old with me, and I don't think that's good.
that'll speed things along.
That would not be.
My boots.
Guys,
Let's
come
pick a different day.
Rachel and I could do 5:30 on Friday.
Yeah.
I could do Thursday evenings as well.
Or why don't you guys? Because Andrew can do that. So there's 3 of you for Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, that works.
You do 5:30?
5:30, yeah, I can do that.
Okay. So I'll set up 1 or 2 for then,
Is that this Friday or next Friday?
the 12th.
12th, okay.
That's this Friday.
5:30. I could maybe do one of them.
So wait, what property is that?
She's gonna let us know.
Oh,
I gotta see when the consultants can do this.
oh, okay.
But then we're gonna pick some other days.
So we can probably squeeze in 2 on Friday the 12th.
Okay.
No, it's probably not worth going to see 86 Colonial yet, but Jeff Hannaford, who's Norse, said he could do Chestnut Lane Thursday, the 11th. I don't know if that's at 6. I don't know if that's gonna do anybody any good.
I can do it
then.
Yeah.
Thursday at 6?
Yeah.
Thursday the 11th at 6.
I feel like I know that one the best. Thursday at 6.
Where's the address?
That's Chestnut, and that's number 5.
Yeah.
All right, I can definitely do that one. So it's Thursday.
That's the roadway going, the new roadway or driveway?
It's just the house.
The house.
It's the first kind of new house, the one where the wall collapsed,
Oh,
You said Chestnut?
5 Chestnut.
Five
And what
Chestnut?
I
time?
can't do 6, but I'll go early, if he's, so,
I had thrown out 6 at him, and he said that's okay, so he might be able to be there earlier, if, I don't know how that works for everybody else.
yeah, I've gotta go earlier.
5:30 is fine.
Is
5:30,
Chestnut
yep.
Lane, is that right?
I can try.
I believe
But
so.
I trust you guys.
5:30,
If there
shoot
are
for?
enough people out.
Yep. But it's okay if I go earlier, we've got permission on that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just go.
Wait, did we just change 6 to 5:30? Is that what
Yep.
we just did?
Mhm.
And Crestview.
You guys gotta be careful, the ticks are gonna start to be out too, a lot
Yeah.
more.
And 51 Hartwell.
I think Crestview, we might wanna try and work at a time that we can really try
Yeah, it's
and.
like a longer visit, isn't it?
It's a longer visit, but I think we really need to kinda look at it.
I could do the Sunday, the 14th. Can't do Saturday, but I could do probably Sunday.
I think I
When's
can-
Easter?
Not for
That's the
another-
following weekend.
The what?
Do you have a
This
date?
weekend's tax.
We're trying to figure something out. Maybe Sunday the 14th?
Well, what,
This Sunday?
I mean, if she's here, we could ask her what day works.
Are you around this Sunday?
I'm real iffy for Sunday with a bunch of
Palm
stuff.
Sunday.
Oh.
Was it Palm Sunday?
Mhm.
I don't know if we can't note.
Careful.
So, what,
What's Sunday the 14th?
Visitors and
I always prefer morning, so. Anna, you got your coffee mug?
Flexible.
I'm not home Sunday morning, so.
Okay,
Doesn't
so
matter.
Sunday afternoon?
Why don't we just going to look, or?
I think you're just going to look.
Or we just,
They're probably just gonna walk in and look, so. You wanna shoot for 9 o'clock?
9 o'clock?
they can't do that.
10 o'clock's better. I don't want to get up early.
Also can't do that.
I know, one day I can.
like half the day is gone.
No, come on.
What's
I'll
the
be at a
address
lacrosse
again?
game
51 Hartwell?
Okay.
51
in Tingsboro.
Hartwell.
That's a lot of sidewalks.
Yeah.
It's a
Well, I
ton of
think,
sidewalks.
yeah, but just
Yep.
try and get
Yeah.
done what you can
Yeah.
get done.
So-
Can you send a list of where, like, the
Crestview.
2 would be on the 12th? So Crestview would be the first, then the 12th, and then Sunday the 14th.
Wait, Thursday the 11th,
Yep,
Friday the 12th, and Sunday the 14th.
yep.
Yeah.
But we don't know the 2 that'll be on the 12th.
Right, it'll either be the Westchester Drive and Scott Road, or just Crestview. 5:30? Yeah.
It's gonna be raining on the weekend.
Of course.
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't think it's like a washout, but it's,
The only
But
two-
then on
the
some of
only two
these-
good days are Wednesday and Thursday this week, from what the last report I saw.
Wait, so Sunday, we don't know a time yet, right? We're supposed to.
10 o'clock.
Oh, that's right.
maybe I'll probably just catch up with you to see what I can go see.
Well, and I think some of these we're gonna have to
Day-
set
daytime.
second dates, because commissioners are gonna need to see them, even if, separate dates from these.
And probably,
Crestview's gonna
maybe Crestview and Scott Road might be the ones
be- Yeah,
that most people might want to see.
yep. I think that makes sense.
So maybe we could
Of
send
course,
it.
Turkey.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me see if what I can work out with the owner's applicants for Friday the 12th. And we'll see who didn't get a slot.
Okay.
And go from there.
Okay, move along, request certificate of compliance at Cobb Lane.
So we're all set, yeah, these, one was for the driveway, that's at the bottom of Cobb's Pond, and the other one was all around the other side for the new driveway, that went up to one of the houses. I walked out there with the engineer and it all looked, one was 204,455, and the other was 621, these are pretty old. And they're just cleaning up their paperwork.
So can we have a motion to?
Motion to issue a certificate of compliance for Cobb Lane 204-455.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Get another one while you're at it.
Somebody else want to do it? Or?
No, do it so it'd be easier for me to type.
Okay.
You see how fond I am of cut and pasting. Whoops.
All right, also a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 16 Pickard Lane, 204-621.
Second.
All those in favor?
Read the last one.
Aye.
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 Okay, so there's 2 things here to sign.
Fireworks at Long Lake.
I am not getting into it.
Boo.
I am not getting into it. So Parks and Rec is considering it. They're just doing their preliminary footwork at this point. He was in to say what kind of permit they'd need from the Conscom, because it is Board of Selectmen who controls Long Lake. It's not Conscom property.
Can we just take a vote?
Take a vote? No.
Who supports it? Who doesn't?
Wait, who,
Can I say something quickly?
Sure. Well, I'm sorry.
One of the reasons I'm here now is that there was the emails were flying around.
They were.
Conservation Trust people, custom meals.
And also Long Lake Association flying around.
Right, I mean, they're
All
worried
negative.
about wildlife and,
I am.
Fire danger on the 4th of July.
So are we asked to, are they asking for our input?
I said I would just let you guys know, and see if you thought it would need a order conditions. It's a use, so it's kind of weird. It's not gonna get a land use permit because it's not.
But it's dropping
Your
stuff
property.
in the water. It's dropping
Right.
stuff
Yeah,
in the
no,
water.
Right,
It's
so
dropping stuff.
I told him
on
it
the
would
There's
land.
probably be
environmental
fine.
impact and studies will show that,
There's-
so.
Well, so I recently went
Thank you.
to the Saranac Lake Winter Carnival, and their huge fireworks display, and they're awesome. I stood out on the ice and watched them. They were amazing. I was just looking through to see if I could find the pictures. Someone posted pictures to Facebook afterwards, some local up at Saranac Lake, and just the amount of debris from the fallout from the fireworks going into, like, sinking into the lake bottom.
Right.
And the Adirondacks, so Lake Flower is huge. It's the lake in the center of Saranac Lake, is where the firework fallout goes every year. It's a huge lake. It's also a big river system with dams, and so there's a lot of also recharge and flow through there. So I mean, I saw that. I was like, wow, that was really striking to me. I have concerns for a system like Long Lake from a water quality standpoint,
Right.
especially.
So
You don't do fireworks one year and then not do them again, because the town's like, hey man, where are the fireworks? So I would think that we would want to.
Not
I
start a
have
petition.
I have real concerns from a water quality.
I don't support it.
You know, in addition to impacts to the wildlife, in addition to homes right
Are
on
there
the
any
lake.
fireworks in town right now?
I'd like to
There's
support
no
it, but I just don't.
Acton. There are ones in Acton, but none in Littleton.
You can go over to Harvard too.
Groton.
And we're happy
So
with
there-
There's
so
some
they're
over
ar-
Groton.
So they're
right over
around,
Litchfield.
people
Oh yeah,
can
festivals
go
in
and
Groton.
see.
And I think, I mean, I would like to commend, like, I feel like Park and Rec has really upped their game with programming, and I feel like they've done, like, the Park and Rec Adventures, my boys are in, and they're doing all sorts of hiking and nature stuff, and, you know, and so I think they're doing, they're really looking to expand their program, and I think they've done a really nice
I mean,
job with their offerings.
the traffic down there getting in and
Well,
out would be
Well,
crazy,
yeah.
right?
But from I just don't think it's the right spot.
Which is not-
From an environmental standpoint, I don't
The
think it's the
neighborhoods be
right,
going crazy.
the right
Yeah, parking
spot.
would be horrible.
There's no parking,
No,
so.
they would have to park
Fire
at the Shaker
hazards.
Lane.
But
That's
think of
where
the
you
money you
might
could
wanna
make letting
do it,
people park in
because
your
you're shaking
driveway.
lanes.
Hey,
$20.
Keep going. Next one.
not a good idea.
I think you can.
I'll pass that sentiment
Yeah.
along.
Unanimous sentiment.
Move
Okay.
on to the next one.
It would be
Open,
nice, but
Open
it's too small.
River Institute, they gonna,
I got this letter, that they're willing to come in and speak for 3 minutes on slow-release fertilizers and how they
I
are
thought
good
that
for
was
soil
cool.
microbes and root growth.
Oh,
root
yeah.
growth.
Matt could work with them about
And
doing a
alternatives to
flyer.
herbicide
That would be a good
run-
flyer.
I thought that
really
looked,
like this.
I read that
But to
letter, I
make it
thought that looked
so-
great.
So if you want them to come in, I
Yeah.
can
Yeah,
see if they want to
They
come.
also encourage bylaw changes to help encourage,
Yeah.
which I think
But the
makes
thing
sense
is
because
that-
we talk to people about this all the time, you know,
Yeah.
about
I
lawn
think it'd be
care.
great if they could work with Matt and do a flyer,
Yeah.
so like a good starting point for them.
Yeah, that would be good. I
Yeah.
mean, but I think that in terms of all his suggestions, we're doing a lot
Oh,
of
no,
them.
I-
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
We have the standard order
Yeah.
condition
Yeah.
that addresses that, so I'm not sure
Yeah.
how much change we need to make.
You're giving them
But a
3
bylaw
minutes.
would be-
But yeah, they say three, I don't
Well,
believe
and awareness,
3 minutes
too.
for a second, but.
Yeah. But to have, you know, to have awareness and have, you know, have someone
I'll give
come
them
talk
15
to,
minutes.
you know, lessons.
Be a great
We can
piece
catch
of
up on our
it.
agenda when- if they really
Yeah.
only take 3.
The Independence Run now by somebody out on the North Shore writes for us now, I've noticed that. We have a
That
lot
would be an
less
interesting piece,
local
especially it's
content.
springtime. Oh, want to fertilize your lawn? Think before you fertilize.
Yeah.
Mulch your grass back then.
So a couple other things that aren't on there, updates. Cloverdale, there is a revised plan and permit application. So if you want to hear that on the 22nd, I was going to post it as requested through the Board of Selectmen as a public meeting. Hearing.
Okay, sounds good.
Durkee
What?
submitted their open space E post dewatering monitoring report and their wetland replication area monitoring reports, both dated July 2018, and I got them today.
What?
I've been bugging them. You find they have all the requests for certificate of compliances in. I said, I'm not going anywhere until you submit these stupid things. So I got them. So
But if
he's-
they're not current,
Have you read them
so-
yet? Sort of.
I mean,
I don't know if you had a
there's no
chance yet.
surprises.
Yeah.
You know, the mitigation area is doing well, and it looks like it's doing well. And over at the farm pond, a lot of trees died.
Right.
Surprise, surprise.
Yep, imagine that.
So they're gonna wanna move ahead with the certificate of compliance, and I don't mind, I told Brian, I'm not walking it, because I walked it last fall, until he says that they've done what I pointed out. So that might be another site walk, and I said,
And are all their basins working?
it's all that.
Is that culvert at the
Yeah.
farm pond, is it seeing water?
Keep bringing it up, 'cause-
A tiny trickle, depending if it's high enough. And you don't really see standing water. I'm sure if you walked out into the meadow, you'd be splashing, but it's not like flooded the way it had been. So it's working, seems to be working. 73 Hartwell, Glenn Berger's thing, the superseding order got DEP affirmed your order conditions. Yeah.
Super, so what does that mean?
So unless the abutter wants to take that to the courts,
Oh,
it's
okay. It's done.
done,
Okay.
and we don't have to do anything. 10 Fort Pond, it looks like they are gonna be able to get an easement from an abutter and get out of the ILSF.
Oh, wow.
So I told them if they're out of
That's
it,
great.
they're out of it, it's no
Yeah.
jurisdiction, no buffer zone.
God.
Great.
So-
No, that was,
gonna be, that's great
we
news.
needed a big
Really
bridge.
good news.
Yeah.
I'm almost hesitant to say this, but Steve Marsh wants to use the dirt road between Cooper and where he wants to do Westchester Drive on Goldsmith as a haul road.
Wait, what?
All roads.
So I said, Steve, let's walk that someday, because I don't know what that culvert is like under there, what that road is like.
I bet the,
Is that-
those
is-
are like little private roads there.
I'd have to see
You
a
can't
map.
use
No,
those.
it's it's an old cart road.
It's an old cart road, but I'm not sure.
But when you come out on, do you come out directly onto Goldsmith or on like Narcissus or something? 'Cause
Well, you
that's
come
what I'm
out,
saying, like,
kind
those
of a sort of gravelly dirt road next to the horse farm.
Okay,
Oh,
That
so-
they've improved a little bit.
okay.
Okay, I
Yeah,
know
and
which
you
one.
go all the way back, it goes down.
They redid a couple of the, I mean, I'll go out with you.
Yeah.
Know it well.
It's that road that we have
We
walked on,
walked it many
Steve
times,
Marsh's
yes.
many
We've been,
times.
yeah,
When
many
the water
times.
was
And it goes out.
out
yeah.
back to Cooper.
And at least on that one, I'm ahead of the game. I reminded him that his permit expires in September, which I can't believe it's been 3 years, but, so he's on
Is that
notice.
CR done?
of course not.
That keeps coming up, but I think it was, and it wasn't I have to look into it again.
Who wound up holding it? Because I don't think I don't remember anybody saying, "Hey,
Yeah,
for
you
heaven's sake.
guys don't have it.
CR for what?
Steve Marsh's. Oh no, Steve
No.
Marsh's
Oh,
property.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he,
I don't think I've had involvement.
we were gonna hold it.
Yeah, but I don't think,
Well, actually, I'm not sure it's that
I don't know
parcel.
whoever did it though.
We're talking about the parcel.
What it was all
Kind
about
of
is
behind the
somebody
horse.
wanted to have horses
I
and be
forget
able to
what
ride horses on it. And you didn't want to have the horses on it at the
No.
time. Because it was like a,
What do you mean at the time? The trust doesn't ever allow horses.
okay, because they would ride down to Donald's.
Right, no, that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
It says horse.
Yeah.
The, if it's the
That's why I
one
had
I'm
it written
thinking
in.
of, this is one that he did 8 years ago or something like that.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
and-
a good memory on that one, Jim, yeah, because I had them right in the horses, but I don't think it ever got
Never got done.
finished. Maybe it
Was
did.
it-
He dropped us because we had complaints because there were owners of property there that were encroaching on the property, and he was gonna have to ask them, to cut back or do something. And he got tired of dealing with us and said he did it with
I
some.
think-
Yeah, I thought it was dealt with some way, the way that 15 Great Road was dealt with. Nobody wanted to hold 15 Great Road. So it's not a CR, it's a conservation easement or some, it's some
Deed, some sort of
declaration.
deed.
I think that went to National Heritage.
No, that's heritage
That's
required.
who-
They will not hold CRs though.
They didn't want to, but I think that's where it
Yeah.
ended up.
It's not, it is entirely in private hands.
Well, how about we just ask Steve?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I've asked him before and he sent me the stuff, I just don't remember it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'll dig that out.
So speaking of CRs, the CR at the point, how much time, that seems like a lot of time.
For you.
And is that reasonable for you to, I mean, is that typically how we?
Oh, yeah, and actually that was, because I was gonna ask you guys about that, in the Article 18, they say that there should be a CR on it from a non-fee
Right.
agency.
Mhm.
At the point?
No, for Article 18, but
The one
a
for the
lot
town
of
meeting for-
trusts and stuff, SVT, are charging fees to hold a CR because
saw
it
that, yeah.
takes
Oh, right, it takes a
time
lot.
and expense
Right.
Right.
to
We're
do the
saying
monitoring.
there's a lot on your plate, so.
Well, I don't know
Sure.
why.
Yeah.
If,
That's the fun part.
Yeah, okay.
This is the.
Hmm.
There's not much to look at there at the point. We can't get to the other side of the marsh.
Right, yeah. No, it's huge.
There's a little piece that hits Sherry Gold's where Bruce Ringwald's gonna do that trail. I think a little piece of that is the point touches out there. And it's just woods. And hopefully we'll trip across it.
Just woods?
It's just woods.
Might be
Nothing
a turtle
exciting.
for a stepping stone.
I give you the species list breakdown. Maybe we'll trip across a Blandings turtle while we're out there, who knows?
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Did,
that's why the tire place has it.
But yeah, that is a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, you do have to build in at least 3 to 6 months to get it signed. I mean, look how long the Kinghorn one took.
Yep.
But there's nothing weird about this CR.
Yeah, it's straightforward.
Kinghorn was a little
That was it,
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. they're-
So I'm not
The
sure.
neighbors.
Okay.
Okay.
Something I just remembered, I can't remember what it was.
Natural Heritage did say there is something, a declaration of restriction, I think it was called, that could be done as an interim measure. And Ray Lyons, who is just overwhelmed with work right now because everybody else is retired, was like, don't do that to me. So I was like, well,
I'm not familiar with that.
it looks, Misty Ann sent an example of it. It looks pretty much like a CR. It's shorter. It just kind of is almost a placeholder while the CR gets put into place.
It's like a
Does it have a-
declaration that's not on a deed, it's just,
I think it gets recorded.
a court thing?
It
So
gets-
does it have
gets
a time
recorded.
allowance that it's only valid for?
No, I think I didn't read it totally. I think it just gets superseded when the CR is put into place.
Okay.
And I think it's probably more pertinent when you're worried that someone might be getting down into that CR land. The CR land, for the point, is pretty protected.
Maybe it's like a
They're not gonna
notice, it
get in
doesn't
there.
carry with the land, it doesn't go.
Yeah, we got 2
in
properties out
perpetuity?
there now, because Market Basket owns part of that lot.
The tire company, did they ever come in for a certificate of compliance?
I walked it with them,
To the left.
yeah, I think they did.
I don't remember it, but.
I can't remember, I know I walked it with them, and they were close,
No, I think you closed that out.
yeah.
Oh.
Because they were, and they redid all the bounds of the CR back there, and they have a turtle nesting
Yeah.
spot. And the self-storage wants to cut down some trees, which I don't think he's ever gotten around to, but. And Town Fair Tire will be redoing the trail. So they say.
Mhm.
There's no way of connecting from like Cherry Gould's to Town Tire over to the
Too
point.
wet, isn't it?
It would be nice, yeah, but you can't get there.
Yeah, no, you try.
Well, how about one of his bridges?
That'd be a serious
We could
bridge.
do it with the boardwalk.
That'd be a serious boardwalk.
It'd be, yeah.
I've looked at it.
It'd be nice if you could go up where, what was the old railroad track, there used to be, there's a bridge abutment up there. That might even be in Westford, I'm not sure where that is, but.
But I was thinking the CR that the point did, you want to allow for a trail or something on that. It should be mentioned in.
That needs to be determined.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I told them, you're gonna have to ask, first of all, ask Natural Heritage to even allow a trail.
That's because that's,
And second, it's gonna be hard because there is a turtle fence there
There's
and a
turtles
gate.
that come
Right.
right into the sand
And you
right
can't
there
open the gate.
of the basin.
Because people just leave the gate open, the turtles start wandering back into Market Basket.
Right. Oh, yeah, no, they did.
Did they?
No, they love that sand over there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seriously, go ahead. No, they're at a party over there.
I mean, they've had some very big snappers come up
Oh, nice.
during construction.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I like snappers.
Cool.
If there's no more further business, can I have a motion to close this out or adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.